The Alpha's Marked Mate by Tiffany Berlane. Book 2 in the Alpha's Mate series. Summary. The second book in the Alpha's Mate series. One touch claimed her. One bond could break him. Sera is a bridge, a rare conduit of ancient power, capable of weaving the very fabric of wolf-shifting magic. When the lethally protective Alpha of Shadow Ridge, Kael, marks her as his own, their connection ignites a carnal and spiritual fire that neither can control. But their honeymoon period is cut short by the return of the Veil Hunters, a dark cult hungry to drain Sera's power and leave her a hollow shell. To end the threat, they must journey into the primal heart of the ancient territories to claim the fang of the first wolf. Amidst moonlit forests and starlit mountain passes, the heat between them builds to a fever pitch. Even as a devastating secret emerges, the magic required to save their kind demands a staggering sacrifice. To anchor Sera's ascending power, Kael must surrender his own immortality, carving his very life force into the bond that ties them together. From the breathless heights of a high mountain pass to the desperate shadows of a hunter's cage, their love is tested by betrayal and blood. In a world where power is a curse and mercy is a luxury, Sera and Kael must decide if a love that burns this bright is worth the cost of forever. Experience the absolute bone-deep commitment of a mate bond that transcends life and death. Before we start, let us know in the comments where you're listening from and what kind of stories you enjoy most. We love hearing from our listeners.
Chapter 1. The Morning After the Moon. I wake to the feel of Kael's mouth on my shoulder, tracing the crescent mark he gave me under last night's moon. "Morning Bridge," he murmurs against my skin, and the word sends heat pooling low in my belly. His hand slides across my ribs, pulling me back against his chest, and I let myself sink into the solid warmth of him. Through the bond, I can feel his satisfaction, deep, primal, possessive. His wolf is purring. "It's still dark," I say, my voice rough. "Then we have time." He turns me to face him, and even in the gray pre-dawn light, the way he looks at me makes my breath catch, like I'm the only thing in the world worth seeing. His thumb traces my cheekbone and he kisses me, slow, deliberate, tasting me like something precious. This is still new enough to steal my breath, being wanted like this, after everything. He pulls back just far enough to press his forehead to mine. "Feel that?" He takes my hand and presses it over his heart. "That's the bond. That's me. Connected to you in every—" A frantic pounding at the door. Kael's body goes rigid. The tenderness vanishes. He's on his feet and reaching for pants before I can blink, the Alpha replacing the lover in the space of a heartbeat. "Enter," he snarls. A Border Patrol wolf bursts in, bloodied and shaking. "Alpha, there's a body at the north border. Not a normal kill. The energy, all of it, it's just gone. Drained. I feel it through the bond. Kael's rage, his fear, his instinct to shield me from whatever this is. He throws up walls between us, trying to cut me off. "Stay here," he commands. "I'm coming with you." "Sera? Try and stop me, wolf." We stare each other down. The bond thrums with his need to protect and my refusal to be protected. Finally, he swears and points at the bathroom. 2 minutes, don't leave my sight. I'm reaching for my jacket when it happens. The mark on my shoulder blade ignites. Not the warm pulse of the mate bond. This is white-hot agony that drives me to my knees on the tile. "Sera," Kael's fist hits the door. I twist in front of the mirror, pulling my shirt aside, and what I see stops my heart. The crescent mark, silver since the bonding, beautiful, mine, is changing. Dark veins of black are threading outward from its edges like cracks in ice, spreading across my skin with every pulse. Kael breaks down the door, sees it, and the raw terror in his golden eyes tells me everything. This isn't supposed to happen. "Don't touch it," he whispers. Whatever you do. Kael, what is this? He's already on the phone, his voice a blade. Get the elder, now. The mark is spreading. It looks like the corruption. But here's what I don't tell him. What I can't tell him. When the mark ignited, for just a fraction of a second, the bond between us went dark. Not quiet, not dim, dark. Like someone had cut the golden thread connecting us with a pair of shears. And in that darkness, I felt something else reach for me. Something that wasn't Kael. Something ancient and patient and hungry. And part of me, some deep, wolf-buried part I don't want to examine, reached back. I pull my shirt down and meet Kael's terrified gaze with what I hope looks like steady courage. I'm fine, I say. It's the first lie I've ever told him through the bond, and the mark on my shoulder pulses once, like approval. Chapter 2. The Hollow Wolf. The scent hits us before we crest the ridge, and Kael's entire body seizes. Death, but not just death, something underneath it, a sickly sweet wrongness that coats my tongue and makes my wolf want to retreat into the deepest corner of my psyche. My bridge power recoils from it, but the mark on my shoulder doesn't. It pulses, once, warm, almost welcoming, like it recognizes a family member. I shove that thought down so hard the bond rattles, and I feel Kael glance at me. You okay? Fine. The word comes out too fast. The smell is bad. He studies me for a beat too long, then turns back to the clearing. The body lies in a perfect circle of dead grass, not scorched, drained, like all the life just leached away, leaving behind husks. The wolf is frozen mid-shift, back legs furred, front legs human, torso caught between states. But the eyes are what make my stomach turn. White, completely white, like someone reached in and bleached the color from his skull. Dane. Kael says the name like a prayer or a curse. He was 17. I force myself closer. My bridge power reaches out, trying to sense the shape of what was done here. For a moment, just a fraction of a second, I touch something else. Ancient, hungry, endlessly patient. The same thing I felt when the bond went dark this morning. I jerk my hand back, gasping. Kael catches me before I stagger, his hands on my waist, the bond flooding with his rage and need to protect. Whatever did this, I manage, leaning into him. It wasn't a rogue attack. This was a ritual, intentional. Can you tell what kind of magic? I should tell him the truth, that the darkness in the ritual circle and the darkness spreading through my mark feel like the same thing. That something in me responded to the wrongness with recognition, not revulsion. It's old, I say instead. Older than anything I've felt before. Through the bond, Kael's fear sharpens into something more dangerous. The cold focus of an alpha facing a threat to his pack. We need to get you back to the compound. No. I need to understand. Sera. He grips my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. Pure gold, nothing human in them. If this thing hunts bridges, then the only bridge in Shadow Ridge is you. I know that. Then you know why I need you safe. And you know why I can't hide. I grip his wrists. Protecting me won't stop this. Whatever hunted Dane will keep hunting. He looks like he wants to argue. Instead, he pulls me against his chest and holds me so tight I can barely breathe. Stay with me, he says against my hair. Constantly. That's the deal. Deal! But even as I say it, the mark pulses again, and this time, something comes with it. A whisper, barely there, like a voice speaking from the bottom of a well. You know what this is. You've always known. I press my face harder into Kael's chest to hide my expression. We ride back in silence. The bond between us should be a comfort. That golden thread connecting us, his steady presence anchoring me. But every few minutes I feel it flicker, just for a heartbeat, like static on a phone line. Kael doesn't seem to notice. Or if he does, he's choosing not to say anything. That night, he can't sleep. I can feel him lying beside me, rigid with tension, running scenarios. His hand finds my hip in the dark, and the possessive weight of it usually makes me feel claimed and cherished and safe. Tonight, I feel something else underneath it. Watched. Not by Kael, by whatever is spreading through my mark. I wait until his breathing deepens, until the bond tells me he's finally asleep. Then I slip out of bed and go to the bathroom mirror. In the moonlight, the dark veins from the mark have spread further, down my shoulder blade, across the top of my spine, reaching toward my collarbone like fingers. They pulse with a faint, dark light that has nothing to do with the mate bond. I trace one of the veins with my fingertip. It's warm. It shouldn't be warm. And then, in the mirror, my reflection moves when I don't. Just a flicker, a tilt of the head I didn't make. Eyes that are mine but darker, deeper, with something ancient swimming behind them. I stagger back from the mirror, and the reflection matches me again. Normal. Just me. Just Sera. But the mark pulses once more, and I hear that whisper again. Stop fighting it. We are the same. I grip the sink until my knuckles turn white. My heart is hammering. The bond is stirring. Kael, sensing my distress even in sleep. I force calm through the bond, push it outward like a blanket, muffling my terror until it reads as nothing more than a bad dream. He settles. The bond quiets. And I stand in the bathroom in the dark, shaking, staring at a reflection I no longer completely trust, with a mark spreading across my skin like a second bond, one I didn't choose, one I can't sever, and one that's growing stronger every hour. I should tell Kael. I should tell him everything. But the thing is, and this is what terrifies me most, I don't want to. Not because I'm afraid of his reaction, but because some part of me, some deep and darkening part, wants to see what happens if I let it in. And that part is getting louder. Chapter 3. Old Stories. I don't tell Kael about the mirror. I don't tell him about the whispers either, or the way the mark feels warm when it should feel wrong, or the fact that every time the bond between us flickers, those tiny static bursts of disconnection, the darkness fills the gap like water rushing into a crack. I tell myself I'm protecting him, that he has enough to worry about without his mate admitting she's being slowly claimed by something they can't fight. But I know the real reason. The darkness doesn't feel like an enemy. It feels like a homecoming, and that terrifies me more than anything that's ever hunted me. 3 days after Dane's body is found, Kael takes me to the archives beneath Shadow Ridge. Miriam, the pack's keeper of histories, is ancient and sharp-eyed and misses nothing. "Show me the mark," she says before we've even sat down. I pull my shirt aside. The dark veins have spread past my shoulder blade now, tendrils reaching toward my collarbone. Miriam sucks in a breath. Behind me, I feel Kael's fury spike through the bond. He sees it every day, watches it grow, and every day his control frays a little more. "The Veil Hunters," Miriam says, and the name drops into the room like a stone into still water. "Who?" Kael's voice is ice. "A cult, 7 centuries old, or so we thought. They hunted bridges." Miriam pulls a leather-bound tome from the shelf, cracking it open to pages that make my blood run cold. Crude drawings of ritual circles, a figure with a bridge mark, surrounded by symbols. They believed bridge magic was a corruption. They developed a ritual to drain it from the host. "Did it work?" I ask. "It killed 17 bridges." Miriam turns a page to show twisted, blackened things that barely look human. The magic consumed the hunters from the inside out, but they kept trying. Kael's hand finds my back. The possessive pressure of it should comfort me. Instead, I feel the mark pulse in response, not with pain, but with recognition, like it knows these symbols. Like it's been waiting for someone to name what it is. If they've been dead for centuries, Kael says, how is this happening to Sera? Blood magic, Miriam says, passed through family lines. If even one lineage survived, they could have resurrected the ritual. She looks at me with ancient, knowing eyes. The mark on your skin isn't just corruption, child. It's an invitation. The ritual requires the bridge to participate willingly. It's seducing you. The room goes very quiet. I feel Kael's eyes on me. Feel the question forming through the bond. A question I desperately don't want him to ask. Sera, his voice is careful. Too careful. Is there something you haven't told me? The mark pulses. The whisper comes again. Lie. He'll cage you if he knows. No, I say. Nothing. The lie tastes like ash. And through the bond, I feel something I've never felt before. Kael's doubt. Not suspicion, not anger. Just a hairline fracture of uncertainty. So small he probably doesn't even know it's there. But I feel it, and the darkness inside me feeds on it. Miriam is still talking. Something about an archive in the wolf territories, records that could help us understand how to break the ritual. Kael is arguing about safety, but I'm barely listening because the mark is doing something new. It's showing me things, flashes, like memories that aren't mine. A woman kneeling in a circle of bone, hands dripping with dark light, a feeling of absolute power, not the golden warmth of bridge magic, but something sharper, colder, more honest. Bridge magic builds connections. This magic burns them away and leaves you standing alone, untouchable, unchained. No bond, no alpha, no need for anyone. The vision breaks, and I'm gasping, and Kael is gripping my shoulders, and Miriam is shouting something I can't hear. I'm fine, I say, for what feels like the 100th time. I'm fine. But when I look past Kael's shoulder into the polished surface of Miriam's reading lamp, I see my reflection. It's smiling. I'm not. We're going to the wolf territories, I say, surprised by the steadiness of my own voice. There are records there, ways to fight this, and I'm not waiting around while this thing takes root. Sera, I'm going, Kael. With you or without you. He stares at me. Through the bond, I feel the war inside him, the alpha who wants to lock me in a tower, and the mate who knows that caging me would destroy us faster than any curse. With me, he says finally, always with me. I let him pull me close, let him hold me, press my face into his chest and breathe him in, pine and leather and home. But even as his arms tighten around me, I feel the mark spreading, feel the darkness curling through me like smoke through an open window. And the worst part, the part that keeps me silent, that seals the lies behind my teeth, is that the darkness doesn't feel like an invasion anymore. It feels like waking up. Chapter 4, The Council. The council chamber is packed. Alphas from all 8 allied packs occupy the heavy wooden chairs arranged in a circle, their power thrumming through the space like an electrical current. I can feel the weight of their scrutiny, each one of them measuring me, assessing. I'm the bridge at the center of this storm, the power source that's drawing the attention of something that hasn't been seen in centuries. I can feel Kael beside me, radiating possessive pride and carefully controlled rage. His hand rests on my lower back, not quite hidden from view. It's a statement to every alpha in this room. She's mine, and any threat to her is a threat to me. The alpha of Midnight Crest, an older man named Victor with silver threading through his black hair, is the first to speak. So you're telling us that a death cult from 700 years ago is somehow back, and they're specifically hunting the only bridge we have in the region? Not just back, Miriam says, her voice steady despite her age. Organized, methodical, and they've already claimed 1 kill. If we don't act, they'll claim more. Which brings me to my primary concern, Marcus, The alpha of Northern Ridge leans forward. The bridge needs to be secured, locked down, at least until we figure out the scope of this threat. She's a liability right now. A liability. The word hangs in the air between us, and I can feel the rage that flares through Kael at being described as such. But before he can snap, I stand. The chamber goes very quiet. "I'm going to the wolf territories," I announce, and I don't soften the statement with apology or ask permission tone. To the archive, to study the Veil Hunters' rituals and learn how to dismantle their magic. That's not up for debate. Victor's eyebrows rise. And why exactly should we allow that? Because, I say calmly, meeting his gold gaze without flinching, I'm not asking permission. I'm a bridge, which means I belong to no single pack. I have the right to move freely through pack territories, and I'm exercising that right. As for why you should care about my plan instead of Marcus's containment strategy, because my plan actually solves the problem. His just delays it. I can feel Kael watching me with something like awe mixed with barely restrained hunger. The bond between us sings with his pride, and it gives me courage to continue. The Veil Hunters hunt bridges, I continue. Locking one up doesn't kill the hunters. It just makes the target easier to hit. But if that bridge understands their magic, if she learns their rituals, she becomes dangerous to them. She becomes a threat instead of a prey item. That assumes you survive the knowledge, Marcus says coldly. If their magic is as destructive as we believe, then I'll die anyway, whether I'm locked in a compound or learning to fight back. I shrug, and I see the flicker of something in Miriam's eyes. Recognition. At least this way, I go down swinging, and I take as many of them with me as I can. The chamber erupts into argument, but I'm not listening. I'm watching Kael, watching his expression shift from pride to something deeper and darker and absolutely possessive. When he looks at me like that, like I'm the bravest, fiercest thing he's ever encountered, it makes my whole body flush with desire. Victor raises his hand, and the room falls silent. The bridge makes a compelling argument, and frankly, we have limited options. If the Veil Hunters are truly back, they're a threat to all of us. A bridge who can help us understand them is valuable. Which is why she should be protected, Marcus argues. Kept safe. She can do both, I say. I'll go to the territories with my mate and a small guard. We'll learn what we can learn and we'll come back prepared. In the meantime, Miriam can start identifying the symbols, strengthening the pack's defensive wards. Your mate will be accompanying you? Victor asks, and there's interest in that gaze now. Interest and something that looks like approval. Of course, Kael says, and his voice carries absolute finality. If she's in danger, I'm within distance to protect her, and if she needs to draw on my power to fuel her own, she can do that through our connection. I feel the shift in the room then, the realization that I'm not just a bridge. I'm a bridge mated to one of the strongest alphas in the region, that the power between us is exponentially greater than the sum of our parts. Victor smiles, slow and satisfied. Then I declare the Council's blessing on this mission. Retrieve what knowledge you can from the territories. We'll convene again upon your return to formulate a defensive strategy. The other alphas nod their agreement, even Marcus, though he does so with barely concealed irritation. But it doesn't matter. The decision is made. And when Kael's hand finds mine and squeezes, proprietary and possessive and absolutely proud, I know he's thinking the same thing I am. This is far from over, but we're walking into it together. As the council begins to disperse, making quiet plans and forming strategy, Kael pulls me aside into a shadowed corner of the chamber. His hands grip my hips, and he's looking at me like he wants to devour me whole. That was the most attractive thing I've ever seen, he murmurs, and there's heat in his voice that makes my pulse spike. You, standing there, unafraid, telling those alphas exactly what you were going to do, refusing to be contained. I reach up and drag my fingers along his jaw. Glad you approve, Alpha. Approve doesn't even begin to cover it, he says, and he pulls me closer until his forehead is nearly touching mine. I'm going to take you home, and I'm going to remind you exactly who you belong to. And then we're leaving for the territories at first light, because I can't spend another night in this compound without... Without what? I ask, though I already know. I can feel it through the bond, that desperate, clawing need. Without showing you exactly how much you're mine. And the promise in those words makes my knees go weak. Chapter 5. Breaking Point. The chamber is empty when we stumble through the door, and Kael locks it behind us with a definitive click. All day, the tension between us has been building. The way he looked at me across the council chamber, the brief brush of his hand against mine, the steady, protective presence of his power wrapped around me like an invisible shield. More than anything, it was simply him, his familiar scent, his quiet strength, the warmth that seemed to follow wherever he stood. Every glance carried pride, relief, and an intensity that was impossible to ignore. And now we're finally alone. Tell me you want this, he says, his voice rough with emotion as he gently slips my jacket from my shoulders. Tell me now, because I've been holding myself together all day. I want this, I whisper, the bond echoing every word with complete honesty. I want you. Always you. A mixture of relief and emotion crosses his face before he pulls me into a kiss. It isn't rushed or uncertain. It's filled with everything we've been forced to keep hidden throughout the day. Love, longing, relief, and the promise that no matter what comes next, we'll face it together. His arms wrap around me as though he never wants to let go, and I find myself holding him just as tightly. I love you, he murmurs against my forehead. Sometimes I don't think words are enough. They don't have to be, I reply softly. I'm here. He smiles, resting his forehead against mine for a long moment. You have no idea how beautiful you are, he says quietly. Not because of how you look, but because of who you are. Your courage, your kindness, your strength. Every day you remind me why I chose you. Emotion catches in my throat. And every day, I answer, you remind me why I never stopped believing in us. For a while, neither of us speaks. The silence is comfortable, filled only with the steady rhythm of our breathing and the quiet hum of the bond connecting us. It feels stronger now than ever before, not because of passion, but because of trust. Kael gently brushes a strand of hair away from my face before drawing me into another lingering embrace. I love you so much it scares me sometimes, he admits. Then don't be afraid, I whisper. Just let yourself be happy. He lets out a quiet laugh before holding me even closer. I'll spend the rest of my life trying. So will I. The bond between us glows warmly, carrying every feeling we struggle to put into words. His love, his determination, his promise to protect me no matter the cost. They all flow through it as clearly as if he had spoken them aloud. For a long time, we simply remain there together, letting the silence say everything our hearts already know. Eventually, the intensity fades into a peaceful calm. He rests his forehead against mine once more, and together we stand in the quiet chamber, grateful for a rare moment where there are no battles, no responsibilities, and no expectations. Only us. Only the bond that has carried us through everything. And for the first time all day, the world outside the chamber feels very far away. I'm afraid, I finally admit, my voice small against the hollow silence of the chamber. I'm terrified, Kael. What if the Veil Hunters are too powerful? What if I can't learn their magic? What if they find me before we even make it to the territories? He doesn't say anything for a long moment, just holds me tighter, pressing his forehead to mine. Then I'll burn the entire world, he says quietly, and I feel the truth of it through the bond, feel the absolute certainty in his voice. I will rain fire and death on everything that threatens you. I will end the veil hunters. I will end anyone who so much as looks at you wrong. You are my mate, Sera. You are the bridge of Shadow Ridge, and you are mine. And nothing, nothing, will take you from me while I still have breath in my body. I believe him completely. As he holds me in the darkness, as the bond between us hums with the promise of everything we're about to face, I know the truth of that too. Whatever the veil hunters have planned, they have no idea what's coming, because they just declared war on a bridge and her alpha, and we are absolutely going to burn them down. The bond goes silent at 3:17 a.m. Not muted, not quiet, silent, like a string cut clean through. One moment I'm sleeping in Kael's arms with the golden thread humming between us. The next, there's nothing, a void where he used to be. I sit up in a panic. He's right beside me, breathing, alive, but the bond is gone. Kael, I shake him. Kael, wake up, something's wrong. His eyes open, and they're not golden, they're gray, flat, empty. Who are you? He says. My blood freezes. Kael, it's me, it's Sera. He stares at me the way you stare at a stranger. No recognition, no warmth, no bond. I don't know anyone named Sera, he says calmly, and sits up, looking around the room like he's never seen it before. Where am I, and why are you in my bed? The mark on my shoulder burns cold, and I understand, with a horror so deep it steals my voice, that the corruption didn't come for my body. It came for him, for us, for the bond itself, and it just erased me from the mind of the only person who's ever loved me. Enjoying the story so far? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Chapter 6. Second Attack. The screaming reaches me before the words do. I'm in the library, shoulder deep in texts about bridge theory and ancient binding ceremonies, when the alarm bells start ringing. Not the gentle chiming that calls for meals or announcements. The urgent, discordant clanging that means blood and danger. My power surges immediately, responding to the distress signal like a second heartbeat. The books in front of me rattle against the table. I grip the edge, breathing through the spike of adrenaline, and stand just as Kael appears in the doorway. His jaw is locked, his eyes already gold. Another one, he says without preamble. East Perimeter, one of the hunters from the lower ridge. The blood drains from my face. The last attack was 3 weeks ago. We'd started to think maybe they'd given up, that the elders' warnings about bridges drawing them like moths to flame had been overblown. Clearly, I was a fool. Who? I ask, moving toward the door, toward him. Marcus. He was on patrol. Kael's hand finds the small of my back, and even through the panic, I feel it, that tether between us, the bond singing softly, grounding. He's alive, barely. The healers are with him now. Where? I'm already moving, already pulling my power close like a cloak. Infirmary. But Sera, he catches my elbow gently. We need you for something else first. I look up at him, waiting. The Kael I see now is different from the one I fell into before our intimate encounter weeks ago. He's harder, more deliberate. The weight of alpha responsibility sits heavier on his shoulders, and knowing I put some of that weight there, by existing, by being a bridge, by being marked, makes my chest tight. We need you to trace them, he continues, pulling me with him down the corridor. The council wants to know if you can follow the Veil Hunter's path, their dark energy signature, before the trail goes cold. The request terrifies me. My bridge power isn't like other gifts I've read about. It's not elemental or physical. It's connective. I can sense bonds, feel the threads that tie people together, strengthen relationships that are fraying. But dark energy? That's antithetical to everything a bridge is supposed to be. The elders said it weeks ago. Veil hunters feed on bridge power. The thought of deliberately reaching for that darkness, trying to pull it toward me like a beacon. I can do it, I hear myself say. Kael's grip on me tightens. You don't have to. We can call in the trackers, use the hounds. No, I shake my head, standing taller. A few weeks ago, I would have let him protect me entirely. But I've learned something in the time since the council meeting, since his touch and his claiming of me in the darkness of our chambers. I'm not just the bridge he marked. I'm also the bridge the pack needs. The sooner we know where they are, the better. I have to try. The infirmary is controlled chaos. Healers move between stations, their hands glowing with soft green light as they work on the injured. Marcus is on a bed in the corner, and even from across the room I can see he's barely recognizable. The life has been leached from him. His skin is papery, gray as ash, his chest rising and falling with shallow, labored breaths. I've never seen anything so horrible. One of the elder healers, a woman named Petra, looks up. She's ancient by human standards, maybe 90, but her eyes are sharp. The girl from the council, she says, not unkindly. Come to help? I'm going to try to trace the hunters, I say quietly, to find where they went. Something flickers in her expression, a mix of hope and fear. She knows what that means. She knows what I'm about to do. He was out near the eastern ridge, she tells me, gesturing to Marcus. Found just before sunset. The drain happened fast. Probably happened not long before he was found. I approach the bed slowly. Marcus's eyes are open, glassy, barely tracking me. I reach out and take his hand gently. His skin is cold. Wrong. I'm going to try something, I whisper to him, to help find who did this. His lips move, and I have to lean close to hear the rasping of his voice. Bring them down, he whispers. I nod, squeezing his hand gently before straightening. Kael is there immediately, his hand on the small of my back again. He knows what I'm about to attempt, and his presence is supposed to ground me, to protect me, but we're both about to find out if it's enough. I close my eyes and reach. My bridge power is usually warm, golden and familiar as my own breath. I push past it, past the comfortable sensation of bonds and connections, and reach deeper, darker. I'm looking for the signature of the veil hunters, the cold void they left behind, the drain of life force. It's there, waiting. The moment I touch it, it's like grabbing ice with my bare hands. Pain shoots up my arms, white-hot and vicious. It's not the clean ache of physical injury. It's worse. It's like touching something fundamentally wrong, something that shouldn't exist in a world that makes sense. The dark energy recoils from my bridge nature even as it hungers for it, and the contradiction of that, repulsion and attraction warring at once, nearly tears me apart. I gasp, my eyes flying open. Kael is there, and then his arms are around me, and I'm drowning in warmth. His energy is pure alpha, dominant, powerful, so fundamentally good that it pushes back against the dark I'm touching. The contrast creates a new kind of pain, like fire and ice warring across my skin. But it's different now. It's bearable. It's grounding. I've got you, he says roughly into my ear. Feel me. Feel our bond. Don't let it pull you down. I focus on the tether between us, that glowing thread of connection that marks us as mates. It's solid, real, true. I use it like an anchor, holding myself steady even as I trace the dark energy backward, following its path like a thread. Images flash through my mind, quick, fragmented, but clear enough. I see the ridge where Marcus fell, see the shadows moving with hunger, see the direction they came from, west, northwest. There's a cave system, old and deep, somewhere in the Blackwater Forest. The images are pulled from their energy signature, imprinted on the world around them, and then they feel me looking. The dark power surges toward me like a predator that's just realized it's being hunted. I gasp, and Kael pulls me harder against him, his arms like iron around my waist. "Break the connection," he commands, and the alpha in his voice is absolute. "Now, Sera." I do. I slam my power back inside myself, severing the link to the dark energy. The backlash makes me cry out, and I crumple against Kael. He catches me entirely, lifting me slightly so he can bear my weight. "You got it," he says, and there's pride in his voice even through the concern. "Tell me." With shaking breath, I relay what I saw. The council leans in, the trackers take notes, and Kael listens with the sharp focus of an alpha planning his next move. But he doesn't let me go, not for a second. One hand is locked around my waist, the other pressed firmly against my back, as though he can hold me together through sheer force of will. When I finish speaking, Petra is there with water and a chair. I sink into it gratefully, my whole body trembling. Kael kneels in front of me, taking the water from Petra and holding it to my lips. "That was incredibly dangerous," he says quietly, "for my ears alone." "But it worked," I whisper back. His eyes flash gold. "It did. And we're going to have a very serious conversation later about the fact that you volunteered for something that could have killed you." He pauses. "After I've finished thanking you for doing it anyway." I manage a small smile, even though my hands are still shaking. "I didn't know I'd completed the list of your contradictions." "You're adding to them all the time," he says softly, and leans forward to press his forehead against mine. "But that's a conversation for when you're not about to pass out." "I'm not," I start to protest, but my vision is already swimming at the edges. The last thing I feel is Kael lifting me into his arms, and the rumble of his heartbeat beneath my ear as he carries me toward our chambers. Chapter 7, The Map. I wake wrapped in Kael, his body a furnace against my back, his arm across my waist, possessive and careful all at once. The sun is already high when I stir. I've slept for nearly 20 hours, apparently. Kael had refused to let the healers keep me in the infirmary, choosing instead to monitor me himself. Knowing him, he probably hasn't slept at all. "Awake?" he murmurs against the back of my neck, proving my theory wrong. His voice is rough with sleep, but alert. He probably woke the moment my breathing changed. How long?" I ask, stretching carefully. I'm sore, a dull ache that lives in my bones from pushing my power too hard, too fast. "Almost a full cycle," he confirms, pressing a kiss to my shoulder. "The healers came by twice. You're fine. Your power is regenerating normally." I turn in his arms, needing to see his face. His eyes are shadowed, his jaw dark with stubble, beautiful and exhausted. "You should have slept," I say, reaching up to touch his face. "I was," he replies, catching my wrist gently and pressing a kiss to my palm. "You've been here the whole time." He pauses. "Mostly safe." "Mostly?" His smile is grim. "You had nightmares. The dark energy was still touching your dreams, I think. I had to anchor you a few times." The thought of him staying awake, staying alert, ready to pull me back from nightmares I don't even remember, it makes something in my chest crack open. I pull him closer, burying my face in his neck. He smells like pine and smoke and Kael, and I need it like I need air. "The council met," he says against my hair, "while you slept. And they want to talk to you about next steps. But first, Kael Sr., he uses the formal title for his father, the Elder Alpha who still holds authority over the archives, wants to show us something." I pull back. "Show us what?" He wouldn't say. "Come on, he's waiting in the archives." The archives are in the oldest part of Shadow Ridge, carved into the mountainside centuries ago. The stone is cool beneath my feet as Kael leads me through the corridors, his hand never leaving mine. We encounter a few pack members along the way, and I see the looks they give us. Respect mixed with curiosity. Word has spread about what I did, about how I traced the Veil Hunters and nearly killed myself doing it. Kael Sr. is waiting in the deep chamber where the oldest texts are kept. He's a broad, silver-haired man with eyes the exact shade of gold as his son, and he greets me with a formal nod that somehow feels warm. "The bridge," he says. "Kael tells us you traced the hunters." "Barely," I admit. "But you did it." He gestures us deeper into the archive, into a section I've never seen before. It's older, the air thick with dust and time. Because of you, we may finally have a path forward. We've been fighting these creatures for generations, always reactive, always defensive. But what if there was another way? He stops at a stone table and pulls aside a cloth to reveal what lies beneath. It's a map. Ancient, the parchment yellowed with age, the edges crumbling, but the ink is still clear. Symbols I recognize as the old language of the wolves cover every inch of it. And in the center, marked with a red X that somehow managed to survive centuries, there's a location. "What is this?" I breathe, leaning closer. "This is a map to something we thought was legend," Kael Sr. says. "The fang of the first wolf." I look up at him. Legend? "A weapon," Kael explains quietly. "The first alpha was said to have possessed an artifact made from the first wolf's fang, a creature from before humans, before civilization, a weapon that could permanently kill our kind. The story goes that he bound it, hid it, and created this map in case a generation ever needed it. Needed a weapon to kill wolves," I say slowly. "Needed a weapon to end the undead," Kael Sr. corrects. "The Veil Hunters. They're not truly alive, and they're not truly dead. They exist in a space between, feeding on life force to maintain their half-existence. Regular weapons can't kill them permanently. They just reform, regenerate. But the fang, if legend is true, the fang cuts through that liminal space. It would destroy them completely." I stare at the map, tracing the path with my eyes. "Where?" "The ancient wolf territories," Kael Sr. says. 3 weeks travel north, through the Blackwater Forest and into the high mountains. It's dangerous ground. Humans don't travel there anymore, not in centuries. But if we want to end this threat permanently..." I look at Kael. His expression is carefully neutral, but I can feel the tension radiating from him through our bond, a sharp, electric awareness. He's already decided. He's going, with or without the council's blessing. "You want to go get it?" I say. It's not a question. "I want to end this," Kael says quietly. "Before they attack again, before they get close enough to the compound to threaten the young or the elderly, before they try to drain you again," his father adds, looking at me with understanding eyes. "The hunters feed on bridge power. They'll come back, again and again, drawn like moths. The only way to truly protect you, and the pack, is to eliminate them entirely." The weight of what he's saying settles over me. I'm the reason this is urgent. I'm the beacon drawing danger closer. "When do we leave?" I ask. Kael's hand tightens around mine. 2 days. We gather supplies, brief the War Council, and depart at dawn on the 3rd day. "We?" Kael Sr. raises an eyebrow. "She's coming with me," Kael says flatly. "I'm not leaving her here, not when the hunters specifically seek her out. And her bridge power might be useful if we encounter resistance." There's a moment of tension, Alpha challenging Alpha, even if one is the father of the other. But Kael Sr. nods slowly. "Take Ronan," he says. "He's our best tracker. He knows the old territories better than anyone, and he's loyal." He pauses. "You'll need loyalty where you're going." Kael nods, then looks at me. "Ready?" Am I? I'm terrified. I'm exhilarated. I'm about to leave everything safe and familiar to chase an ancient legend through dangerous territory with an alpha who marks me as his own and a darkness that hungers for my power. Yes, I say, and I mean it. Chapter 8. Departure. The night before we leave, the pack gathers in the central courtyard to say goodbye. It's a strange ritual, reserved for journeys with uncertain endings. The elders speak blessings in the old language, their voices carrying the weight of centuries. The hunters offer weapons and advice, showing me proper grips for blades I probably won't need but might. The young ones watch with wide eyes, wondering if they'll see us again. There's food and drink, and a solemn kind of celebration, not joy exactly, but a fierce kind of hope, the kind that comes from knowing the world is about to change. I stand with Kael through it all, my hand in his, my heart in my throat. His grip is possessive, his fingers interlaced with mine like he's afraid I might disappear if he lets go. Some of the pack members still eye me warily. To them, I'm the bridge, the power that called the darkness, the danger in human form. But others approach and grip my shoulder gently, whisper wishes of safe journey and swift return. The healers give me poultices and powders, their hands gentle as they press the small pouches into my palms. Petra, the elder healer, takes both my hands in hers. "You're stronger than you know," she says, her ancient eyes searching mine. "Trust that. Trust your mate. Trust the bond between you. It will sustain you when nothing else can." I nod, not trusting my voice. The weight of expectation is settling heavier on my shoulders with each passing moment. By the time the gathering ends, the moon is high and the temperature has dropped. Kael dismisses the remaining well-wishers with a formal nod, his alpha authority absolute, then leads me away from the crowds. We head toward the edge of the compound, toward the private chambers we've claimed for ourselves. Chambers that carry both of our scents now, that have become a sanctuary in the chaos of pack life. He doesn't speak as he locks the door behind us. Silence settles over the room, carrying everything we haven't been able to say throughout the day. He helps me out of my travel clothes one piece at a time, his movements slow and careful, treating the moment with quiet respect rather than urgency. Every touch is gentle, every glance lingering as though he's trying to remember every detail of me before whatever tomorrow might bring. He guides me toward the large bed in the center of the room, the thick furs soft beneath us, before removing his own outer layers. The scars across his chest catch the firelight, each one a reminder of battles fought, victories earned, and sacrifices made. What if, I begin, unable to keep the fear inside any longer? What if we don't come back? What if I'm not strong enough? What if... "Don't," he whispers, resting his forehead against mine before pressing a gentle kiss to my lips. "Not tonight. Don't let fear steal this moment from us. Just be here, with me. That's all I want." His words quiet the storm inside me, so I let myself breathe. I let myself believe. He wraps me in his arms, holding me close until the rest of the world fades away. We remain together in the silence, drawing comfort from nothing more than each other's presence. The mate bond hums steadily between us, stronger than ever, carrying emotions words could never fully express. "I've got you," he murmurs, his voice low and unwavering. "Always. No matter what happens tomorrow, you're not facing it alone." Kael, his name escapes me like a prayer. He smiles softly and brushes a loose strand of hair behind my ear before pulling me into another lingering embrace. "I love you," he says, more than I've ever managed to put into words. Tears sting my eyes as I look up at him. I love you too. The fear is still there. The uncertainty hasn't disappeared, but somehow it doesn't feel so overwhelming anymore. We remain together for a long while, talking quietly about everything and nothing, remembering where our journey began, and reminding each other why it's worth fighting for. Every promise we make strengthens the bond between us, filling the room with a calm certainty neither of us expected to find. Eventually the conversation fades, replaced by comfortable silence. He shifts so that I'm resting against his chest, one arm wrapped securely around me while my head settles over the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. I listen to it for a long time, strong, steady, constant. It reminds me that he's here, that we're here, that whatever waits beyond tomorrow, we'll face it together. And for tonight, that's enough. Tell me something, I say quietly, my fingers tracing lazy patterns across his chest. Anything, he says, and means it. Something I don't know, about you, your past. Something you've never told anyone. He's silent for a long moment, his hand stilling in my hair, long enough that I think he won't answer, that this is too much to ask on the eve of our departure. But then he speaks, his voice low in the darkness, carrying secrets I suspect he's kept locked inside for decades. When I was 7, I came across a fawn in the forest, he says. A young doe, separated from her mother. I was training with the hunters, learning to track and kill and do what was necessary for the pack's survival. And I could have killed her easily. Should have, probably. It would have been a clean meal for the pack, a sign of my skill. I wait, listening, not daring to interrupt. Instead, I brought her back to my mother. I wanted to keep her as a pet, like a human child would keep something beautiful and alive just to look at. He pauses, his hand resuming its slow stroking through my hair. My father found out. He was furious. Not disappointed, furious. He said weakness like that would get me killed, would get the entire pack killed. He said an alpha who showed mercy was an alpha who didn't deserve to lead. He took me back to the forest and made me watch as he trails off, his jaw tightening, the muscles there bunching with old pain. Oh, I whisper, understanding without needing him to finish. I feel the weight of what he's not saying, the trauma he watched unfold, the lesson he was forced to learn. It taught me that the alpha can't afford mercy, he continues, his voice hollow, can't afford compassion, can't afford to care about anything except power and survival. For years, I believed that utterly. I built walls around my heart like fortifications. I made hard decisions, did what needed to be done without flinching, proved to my father and to myself that I was strong enough to lead. But then you came to Shadow Ridge, and everything started to crack. Is that a bad thing? I ask softly, tilting my head to look at him. It should be, he says, his golden eyes meeting mine. By every law of alpha nature, it should be weakness, and maybe it is. But his arms tighten around me, and I feel him press a kiss to the top of his head. But it's not weakness with you. Somehow, with you, it doesn't feel like I'm sacrificing anything. It feels like the only true thing I've got, like you're the only thing that's ever been real. I lift my head and find his eyes in the darkness. They're gold in the low light, luminous and fierce, vulnerable in a way that makes my heart ache. I kiss him again, pouring everything into it, apology and acceptance, and a kind of fierce tenderness that probably shouldn't exist in an alpha, but does, because of me, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what changes everything. Before dawn, we find ourselves holding each other once more, wrapped in the thick furs as the first streaks of gray begin to brighten the sky beyond the windows. Neither of us wants to sleep. Neither of us wants the night to end. Tomorrow brings uncertainty, and we both know it. There is a quiet desperation in the way he holds me, as though he's trying to memorize every second we have together. His embrace is steady and protective, every lingering touch filled with unspoken promises. Every kiss carries a message words cannot fully express. He isn't trying to say goodbye. He's reminding me that no matter what happens, we belong together. For a long while, we simply remain close, letting the silence speak for us. The mate bond hums gently between us, carrying love, hope, fear, and determination in equal measure. Finally, he rests his forehead against mine and closes his eyes. "You're my home," he whispers, his voice rough with emotion. My heart aches at the honesty in those 3 simple words. I wrap my arms around him, gently running my fingers through his hair, as we remain together in the quiet stillness before sunrise. Whatever comes next, the danger, the trials, the darkness waiting beyond our borders, We will face it side by side, together. And somehow, knowing that makes the future feel just a little less frightening. Chapter 9. The Road. By the 4th day of traveling, I've stopped feeling like myself. It's not a bad sensation. It's more like I've shed a skin that was never quite mine to begin with. The politics of Shadow Ridge, the weight of being the bridge, the careful way I measured every action and word, all of it falls away like dead weight as we move deeper into the forest. With each mile, I feel more real and less trapped. There's just the road, the trees, the ancient mountains watching us pass with the patience of stone, and Kael, always Kael, a constant presence that grounds me even as everything else becomes uncertain. Ronan is efficient and quiet, leading us through paths that probably haven't been walked in decades. He's younger than I expected, maybe late 20s in human terms, with dark hair and a nose that's clearly been broken at least once. Something about him troubles me, though I can't quite name why. He treats Kael with the respect due an alpha but doesn't defer needlessly, which seems to please Kael, and he barely acknowledges my presence, which at first stings but then becomes a relief. Out here, I'm not the bridge. I'm not the marked mate. I'm not the girl whose existence threatens everyone. I'm just a woman on a journey with the man I love. We travel as wolves most days, falling into a rhythm of movement and transformation that feels ancient and right. Ronan leads while we follow, and the forest becomes an extension of our own bodies. The scents tell stories, prey and predator, water and stone, the lingering traces of wolves who came before us. When Kael shifts, it's breathtaking. The alpha form is enormous, his fur dark as midnight with silver markings that match his eyes when he's human, his shoulders broad enough to blot out the sky. Watching him move through the forest with that kind of power and grace, watching the muscles work under his fur, knowing he's mine, sends a spike of heat through me every single time. I watch him run with a kind of feral joy, my own need pulsing in time with his heartbeat through the mate bond. And when I shift and follow him, my smaller wolf form still strong, the pack bond sings between us like a tuned instrument. We run together, and for those moments, nothing else matters. One night, about a week into our journey, Ronan catches something, a deer, fat and healthy. We eat well that night, meat still warm and perfect, the satisfaction of the hunt settling into our bones. By the time we shift back to human form and settle around the campfire we've built, the sun is dropping below the tree line, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson. Ronan takes first watch without being asked, disappearing into the darkness with a wolf's natural stealth. That leaves Kael and me alone, which might be by design, or might be pure luck, but I've learned not to question my blessings. Kael is quiet for a while, just feeding the fire, watching the flames consume the wood with hypnotic intensity. I sit beside him, close enough that our shoulders touch, my head tilted to rest against his arm. The warmth from his body seeps into mine, a comfort I've come to rely on. I was wrong, he says eventually, his voice low. About what? I ask, turning slightly to look at him. About mercy, about weakness. He glances at me, his golden eyes serious. My father showed me kindness was death, but what he didn't understand, what I'm only now understanding, is that he was teaching me how to die inside. He was showing me how to become empty, a shell going through the motions of leadership without ever truly living. I rest my head more firmly on his shoulder, listening. You're not empty, I say softly. No, he agrees, his arm coming up to wrap around me, pulling me closer. Because of you, you woke something in me that I thought was dead. We sit in silence for a while longer, the fire crackling between us, and the vast, indifferent forest pressing in from all sides. The night is alive with sound, insects, distant animals, the susurration of leaves and wind. It's beautiful and slightly terrifying, and I've never felt more present in my own skin. Then Kael stands and offers me his hand, pulling me up with easy strength. "Come walk with me," he says. "I need to show you something." I let him pull me up, and we leave the firelight behind. We don't go far. Ronan would sense it if we did, would come find us, but far enough that the forest closes around us like a living thing. The stars are visible through the canopy here, bright enough to cast shadows on the forest floor. "Do you ever regret it?" I ask as we walk, my fingers intertwined with his. "Coming with me? Leaving the pack? Following me into danger?" He stops walking and turns to face me, his expression serious in the starlight. "Not for a second," he says immediately, and I feel the truth of it through the bond. "Do you?" "No," I say truthfully, meeting his gaze, though I miss the safety of walls sometimes. I miss knowing where I stand. "Safety is an illusion," Kael says, pulling me closer. "We only ever think we're safe because we're not looking too hard at what could hurt us. Out here, we've at least stopped pretending otherwise. The danger is real, and we're strong enough to face it. Together." He takes me against the trunk of an ancient oak, his hands rough and possessive, his mouth fierce on mine. It's different from the careful intimacy of the night before we left. There's an edge of danger to it, a wildness that matches the untamed land around us and the untamed parts of ourselves. When he enters me, my back is against rough bark, and his palm is covering my mouth to muffle my sounds so Ronan won't hear. Somehow that makes it hotter, more transgressive, more primal, like we're claiming something wild and secret that belongs only to us. Afterward, as we're walking back to camp, he tells me about his childhood in a voice rough with emotion, about hunting with his father before everything changed, before the lessons became brutal, about the moment he realized he'd have to be better, harder, colder than the man who raised him, just to survive, about the night he became alpha and how hollow it felt to win, to prove he was stronger than the man who had spent years trying to break him, only to realize that the victory was meaningless if it came at the cost of his own humanity. "I thought being alpha was the point," he says quietly, his hand never releasing mine as we walk. "Thought once I had the power, once I proved I could lead, I'd finally feel like I understood, like I'd finally be enough. But I just felt alone in a different way, more isolated, like I'd climbed to the top of the mountain and found nothing there but cold. And now?" I ask, though I think I know. He looks at me, really looks at me, and there's something vulnerable in his expression, something no one else at Shadow Ridge would ever see, something raw and open. "Now I feel marked," he says softly, "and I don't mean the claim I put on you, though that's part of it. I mean marked by knowing you, marked by the mate bond in ways that go deeper than blood, like something changed in me at the cellular level when you said you loved me, and I'll never be the cold thing my father wanted me to be again. And I don't want to be. That man, that version of me, he was never real anyway." I reach for his hand and he takes it, his fingers curling around mine with possessive gentleness. We walk back to camp like that, together, connected, moving toward something neither of us fully understands but are beginning to believe in. The stars wheel overhead, indifferent and eternal, and with his hand in mine, I feel like I could face anything. But at the edge of the firelight, where the shadows begin, something watches us. Something that has been following since we left the compound. Something patient. Chapter 10, Under the Stars. The night we make camp at the high pass is the night everything changes. We're close now. Ronan says another few days will bring us to the ancient territories, to the caves where the Fang is hidden. We should be focused, cautious, methodical in our preparations for the final leg of the journey. But the universe, apparently, has other plans. The universe has always had other plans when it comes to Kael and me. The weather shifts as the sun drops below the mountains. The wind picks up, carrying the scent of snow from the peaks above us, and the promise of a storm coming in from the north. Ronan takes shelter in the cave we've found, wrapped in furs, standing watch with the patience of a man who's done this 1,000 times before. Kael pulls me out toward the edge of the cliff, away from the firelight, away from Ronan's watchful presence, into the darkness that stretches beyond the edge of the world. "What are we doing?" I ask as he leads me to the precipice, even though I think I know. I can feel it through the bond, his need, his intention, the fierce pull of the mate bond demanding we acknowledge it in the most primal way. "Existing," he says simply, his hand never leaving mine. "Just us, just the bond, just this moment before everything becomes dangerous again. The stars are so bright up here that it's almost painful to look at them. So clear and close it feels like we could reach up and touch them, like they were put there specifically for us to understand just how small we are in the grand scheme of the universe. The sky stretches endlessly in all directions, more stars than darkness, a sea of light that makes me dizzy when I look at it for too long. Kael removes his outer layers first, his movements calm and deliberate, revealing the familiar scars that tell the story of every battle he has survived. Then he helps me out of mine with the same quiet care, his touch gentle and unhurried, pausing only to brush a kiss against my forehead, my temple and my shoulder. We stand together beneath the impossible sky, the cool wind brushing against us as dawn lingers on the horizon. A shiver runs through me, and without a word, Kael draws me into his arms, shielding me from the chill. In that moment, I understand. This isn't about appearances or grand gestures. It's about trust. It's about choosing each other again and again, even when the future is uncertain. Every glance, every embrace, every quiet smile carries more meaning than words ever could. He isn't trying to impress me or prove anything. He's simply showing me, in every small act of kindness and every gentle touch, how deeply I matter to him. I rest my forehead against his, closing my eyes as the bond between us hums with quiet warmth. Beneath the endless sky, surrounded by nothing but silence and the steady beat of our hearts, the moment feels almost sacred, not because of what we say, but because of everything we don't have to. The mate bond is louder away from the pack, as I discovered days ago. It's a constant hum in my bones, a pull that has nothing to do with my bridge nature, and everything to do with him, with this, with the fact that my soul has somehow recognized itself in another person's body. It recognizes him like I recognize air to breathe. He takes me standing, one hand around my waist, the other cupping my face so he can look at me, his golden eyes never leaving mine. The vulnerability in his expression is staggering. Up here, under these stars, with the whole world sleeping below us, with no one to witness but the infinite sky, he doesn't have to be the alpha. He doesn't have to be strong or invulnerable or any of the things the world demands of him. He can just be Kael. He can just be a man in love. "I love you," he says, and it's not a question or a request. It's a statement, a truth that's been building since the moment he marked me, since the moment he looked at me and saw something worth protecting, worth fighting for, worth changing for. "I love you too," I whisper back, and it's true, terrifying, overwhelming, completely true, the kind of truth that rewrites everything you thought you knew about yourself. He holds me close with quiet care, unhurried, as though every embrace is another promise he never wants me to forget. There is no rush between us now. Only trust, understanding, and a love that has grown stronger through every trial we've faced together. Every gentle touch, every lingering glance, every kiss carries more meaning than words ever could. My hands rest against his shoulders, tracing the familiar lines of the man who has become my safe place. The wind carries away our laughter and whispered promises, leaving only the sound of our breathing and the quiet hum of the mate bond connecting us. When the bond surges between us, it feels brighter than ever before, filling every corner of my heart until I can hardly tell where my emotions end and his begin. It isn't overwhelming anymore. It's comforting. It's home. Kael closes his eyes for a moment, resting his forehead against mine as a quiet smile touches his lips. Stay with me, he whispers, his voice carrying more hope than certainty. It isn't a command, it's a heartfelt request. Always, I promise without hesitation, meaning every word. We settle onto the furs spread across the rocky ground, and he gathers me into his arms once again. My head rests against his chest while his heartbeat echoes steadily beneath my ear, calm and reassuring. I listen to the familiar rhythm as the first light of dawn slowly spreads across the canyon. Everything feels different now. The mate bond no longer feels like something that simply tied us together. It feels like a bridge, a connection strengthened not by destiny alone, but by every choice we've made, every sacrifice we've accepted, and every promise we've kept. Whatever lies ahead, we will face it side by side. And for the first time, that certainty is stronger than fear itself. What happens when we get the fang? I ask, after a long while of silence, my fingers tracing lazy patterns across his chest. We go back, he says quietly, to Shadow Ridge. We end the Veil Hunters. We end this threat to the pack. And then? I press, needing to know, needing him to paint me a picture of a future that doesn't involve danger or loss or sacrifice. Then we figure out who we are when there's not a war to fight, he says thoughtfully. He's silent for a long moment, his hand stroking absently through my hair. I think I might like to build something peaceful. With you, a life where we're not always running toward the next danger, where we get to just exist. Maybe that makes me weak. No, I say, lifting my head to look at him, to see the vulnerability in his face. That makes you whole. That makes you human. That makes you everything your father was too broken to be. He reaches up and touches my face, his fingertips gentle, reverent, like I'm something precious and fragile. How did I get lucky enough to find you? He whispers. How did the universe gift me something this perfect? I don't think luck had anything to do with it, I say, leaning into his touch. I think the universe is just smarter than we give it credit for. I think it knew I needed you, and you needed me, and it made sure our paths crossed. He kisses me again, and this time it's slow and deep and full of all the things we can't quite say in words. The promise of forever. The recognition that we're meant for each other in ways that transcend explanation. The stars wheel overhead, indifferent and eternal, and we make love again under their watch. Slower this time, more tender, less desperate. Just two people affirming that this, whatever this is, whatever it means, is real, is worth fighting for, is worth everything. As I'm drifting off to sleep, curled against him, his body warm against mine, Kael's heartbeat under my ear like a lullaby, I realize I'm no longer afraid. The Veil Hunters are still out there, still hunting, still hungry for my power. The journey ahead is still dangerous, still uncertain, still full of trials I don't fully understand. But with his arms around me, and the mate bond singing between us like a tuning fork struck at its perfect frequency, I know we'll face it. We'll face anything. Together. He stirs slightly, pressing a kiss to my hair, his breath warm against my head. Sleep, he murmurs, his voice rough with sleep and love. I've got you. I'll always have you. And I do, safe under his protection, and the endless stars, finally understanding what it means to be home. Not a place, a person, a bond, a promise that no matter where we go or what we face, as long as he's beside me, I'm exactly where I need to be. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howls, not one of ours, and the mark on my shoulder flares with a pain so sharp it steals my breath. Enjoying the story so far? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Chapter 11, The Crossing. The air changes first. I notice it before we cross the invisible boundary that marks the ancient territories, a shift so subtle that only heightened senses would catch it. The temperature drops 3 degrees. The wind carries something older, something that tastes like starlight and ashes on my tongue. Kael stops ahead of me on the narrow trail, his massive frame going rigid. His dark hair catches the fading sunlight as he turns back to me, golden eyes intense with awareness. "We're here," he says, his voice rough. "The borderlands." Ronan approaches from the rear, his weathered face unreadable as always. He gestures forward. "Beyond this point, the old laws hold more power than the new ones. Be careful." I step forward, my boots crunching on stone that seems older than time itself. The moment my foot crosses some invisible threshold, every nerve in my body ignites. It's not painful, not exactly. It's like every cell in me suddenly recognizes something fundamental about this place. The bridge power that lives in my blood, dormant for so long, wakes up like it's been sleeping in the cold, and now the sun has finally found it. My knees weaken. Kael is there instantly, his arm around my waist, pulling me against his chest. His warmth is immediate, grounding. "I've got you. Breathe." "I can feel it," I whisper. The power thrums through me like a second heartbeat. It's singing, almost, a frequency that makes my bones resonate. The magic here, it's so old, Kael. It's watching us. He presses his forehead against my temple. "Your bridge blood responds to this place. You're meant to be here." We press forward as the sun sinks lower. The landscape shifts around us in ways that shouldn't be possible. The forest becomes more than just trees. The ancient oaks twist into shapes that look almost like faces, their branches reaching as if in greeting or warning. The rocks underfoot shimmer with something that might be lichen or might be magic, and I can't quite tell which. Visions blur my peripheral vision. Not hallucinations. They feel more real than that. I see shadows of things that happened here centuries ago. Wolves running through moonlit groves. A woman with silver eyes standing on a mountain peak, arms raised to the stars. Blood on stone, power being poured into the earth like an offering. "Stay with me," Kael says, and I realize I've stopped walking. His hand finds mine, fingers intertwining. I can feel the visions. "Let me anchor you." I close my eyes and breathe. When I open them again, the visions settle into the background of my awareness instead of overwhelming the foreground. They're still there, the history of this place pressing against my consciousness. But with Kael's touch grounding me, I can function. We make camp in a clearing that feels safe, or at least as safe as anything in these territories can feel. Ronan builds the fire while Kael spreads the bedroll, his movements economical and calm. I sit with my back against a massive stone, my body trembling with exhaustion. The power surge, I try to explain. It's like my whole body is trying to remember something my mind never knew. Kael settles beside me, pulling me into his lap. His thighs are solid beneath me, his arms a cage of safety and belonging. "Your ancestors walked this land." Their magic sings in the stones. You're home, in a way, even if you've never been here before. "Is it always going to be this intense?" I ask, tilting my head back against his shoulder. "It will ease as you adjust, but the connection will only grow stronger." His hand splays across my lower belly, and I feel the heat of his palm through my shirt. "The Fang will recognize you. That's why we're here." Ronan brings me water, and I drink deeply. His eyes are strange in the firelight, sometimes silver, sometimes black, like they can't decide what color to be. I've never quite trusted him, but he's been invaluable to our journey, a guide with knowledge of places most wolves never venture. "Rest," Ronan says. "Tomorrow we go deeper." That night, I dream of ancient magic and older hunts. I dream of running through forests under moons that no longer exist, of hunting alongside wolves whose spirits still haunt these lands. And I dream of Kael beside me through it all, his presence like a lifeline I can't afford to lose. When I wake, it's because he's holding me tighter, his own dreams clearly turbulent. I smooth his hair back from his face and whisper reassurances he can't consciously hear but somehow receives anyway. The bond between us stretches taut and true, vibrating with power that makes the hair on my arms stand on end. We're connected in ways that go beyond the mate bond. The mark on my shoulder burns softly, a constant reminder that I belong to him and he to me. And as the ancient magic of this land presses in from all sides, that bond feels like the only real thing in an increasingly surreal world. Then I hear it. Footsteps. Not Kael's. Not Ronan's. Someone else is in the ruins with us, and they're getting closer. Chapter 12. Ronan's Warning. I wake wrapped in Kael, his body a furnace against my back, his arm across my waist possessive and careful all at once. The sun is already high when I stir. I've slept for nearly 20 hours, apparently. Kael had refused to let the healers keep me in the infirmary, choosing instead to monitor me himself. Knowing him, he probably hasn't slept at all. Awake? He murmurs against the back of my neck, proving my theory wrong. His voice is rough with sleep, but alert. He probably woke the moment my breathing changed. How long? I ask, stretching carefully. I'm sore. A dull ache that lives in my bones from pushing my power too hard, too fast. Almost a full cycle, he confirms, pressing a kiss to my shoulder. The healers came by twice. You're fine. Your power is regenerating normally. I turn in his arms, needing to see his face. His eyes are shadowed, his jaw dark with stubble, beautiful and exhausted. You should have slept, I say, reaching up to touch his face. I was, he replies, catching my wrist gently and pressing a kiss to my palm. You've been here the whole time. He pauses. Mostly safe. Mostly? His smile is grim. You had nightmares. The dark energy was still touching your dreams, I think. I had to anchor you a few times. The thought of him staying awake, staying alert, ready to pull me back from nightmares I don't even remember, it makes something in my chest crack open. I pull him closer, burying my face in his neck. He smells like pine and smoke and Kael, and I need it like I need air. The council met, he says against my hair, while you slept. And they want to talk to you about next steps. But first, Kael Sr. He uses the formal title for his father, the Elder Alpha who still holds authority over the archives, wants to show us something. I pull back. Show us what? He wouldn't say. Come on, he's waiting in the archives. The archives are in the oldest part of Shadow Ridge, carved into the mountainside centuries ago. The stone is cool beneath my feet as Kael leads me through the corridors, his hand never leaving mine. We encounter a few pack members along the way, and I see the looks they give us. Respect mixed with curiosity. Word has spread about what I did, about how I traced the Veil Hunters and nearly killed myself doing it. Kael Sr. is waiting in the deep chamber where the oldest texts are kept. He's a broad, silver-haired man with eyes the exact shade of gold as his son, and he greets me with a formal nod that somehow feels warm. The bridge, he says. Kael tells us you traced the hunters. Barely, I admit, but you did it. He gestures us deeper into the archive, into a section I've never seen before. It's older, the air thick with dust and time. Because of you, we may finally have a path forward. We've been fighting these creatures for generations, always reactive, always defensive. But what if there was another way? He stops at a stone table and pulls aside a cloth to reveal what lies beneath. It's a map, ancient, the parchment yellowed with age, the edges crumbling, but the ink is still clear. Symbols I recognize as the old language of the wolves cover every inch of it. And in the center, marked with a red X that somehow managed to survive centuries, there's a location. What is this? I breathe, leaning closer. This is a map to something we thought was legend, Kael Sr. says. The fang of the first wolf. I look up at him. Legend? A weapon, Kael explains quietly. The first alpha was said to have possessed an artifact made from the first wolf's fang, a creature from before humans, before civilization, a weapon that could permanently kill our kind. The story goes that he bound it, hid it, and created this map in case a generation ever needed it. Needed a weapon to kill wolves, I say slowly. Needed a weapon to end the undead, Kael Sr. corrects. The Veil Hunters. They're not truly alive, and they're not truly dead. They exist in a space between, feeding on life force to maintain their half-existence. Regular weapons can't kill them permanently. They just reform, regenerate. But the Fang, if legend is true, the Fang cuts through that liminal space. It would destroy them completely. I stare at the map, tracing the path with my eyes. Where? The ancient wolf territories, Kael Sr. says. 3 weeks travel north, through the Blackwater Forest and into the high mountains. It's dangerous ground. Humans don't travel there anymore. Not in centuries. But if we want to end this threat permanently... I look at Kael. His expression is carefully neutral, but I can feel the tension radiating from him through our bond. A sharp, electric awareness. He's already decided. He's going, with or without the council's blessing. You want to go get it, I say. It's not a question. I want to end this, Kael says quietly. Before they attack again. Before they get close enough to the compound to threaten the young or the elderly. Before they try to drain you again, his father adds, looking at me with understanding eyes. The hunters feed on bridge power. They'll come back, again and again, drawn like moths. The only way to truly protect you, and the pack, is to eliminate them entirely. The weight of what he's saying settles over me. I'm the reason this is urgent. I'm the beacon drawing danger closer. When do we leave? I ask. Kael's hand tightens around mine. 2 days. We gather supplies, brief the War Council, and depart at dawn on the 3rd day. We? Kael Sr. raises an eyebrow. She's coming with me, Kael says flatly. I'm not leaving her here, not when the hunters specifically seek her out. And her bridge power might be useful if we encounter resistance. There's a moment of tension, alpha challenging alpha, even if one is the father of the other. But Kael Sr. nods slowly. Take Ronan, he says. He's our best tracker. He knows the old territories better than anyone. And he's loyal. He pauses. You'll need loyalty where you're going. Kael nods, then looks at me. Ready? Am I? I'm terrified. I'm exhilarated. I'm about to leave everything safe and familiar to chase an ancient legend through dangerous territory with an alpha who marks me as his own and a darkness that hungers for my power. Yes, I say. And I mean it. Chapter 13, The First Temple. The temple emerges from the forest like it's been waiting for me specifically. It's not the sprawling structure I expected. Instead, it's a simple stone archway, carved from granite so ancient it's turned almost translucent in places. The symbols match those from Ronan's monument, but these glow with a faint phosphorescence, responding to my presence. This is as far as I go, Ronan says, stopping at the tree line. The trials are for bridge users only. Kael steps forward, possessive and furious. She doesn't go in there alone. She does, I say quietly, though every cell in my body is screaming for him not to let me. I can feel his resistance through the bond, a pulsing ache that mirrors my own. This is what we came for. Sera, I can feel you, I remind him, rising on my toes to kiss him. I pour everything into it, all my fear, all my determination, all my love. No matter what happens in there, I'll feel you. You'll be with me. His forehead drops to mine. Come back to me. Always. I step through the archway before I can second-guess myself. The world goes white, then black, Then I'm standing in the courtyard of the pack house in Shadow Ridge, and Kael is there, but he's not moving. He's collapsed on the ground, his body twisted at an angle that means his spine is broken. His eyes are open but empty, the golden light gone forever. No, the word comes out as a rasp. I run to him, my hands hovering over his body, afraid to touch him because that will make it real. No, no, no. He's gone, says a voice I recognize. My own voice, but older, more broken. I turn to see myself standing there, silver eyes filled with nothing but loss. You left him behind when you entered the temple. You chose power over him. And now he's dead, and it's your fault. The vision shifts. I'm standing alone in a vast emptiness, surrounded by darkness that presses in from all sides. Every person I've ever loved is gone. The pack doesn't exist. Kael was never mine. The mark on my shoulder is an illusion I created to make the loneliness bearable. You belong in this darkness, the older version of me whispers. You've always belonged here, alone. I want to curl up. I want to surrender to the despair that's pulling at my consciousness like invisible chains. This is my worst fear made manifest. Not pain, not failure, but isolation. The loss of every connection that makes me who I am. But then I feel it, a pulse through the bond so strong it makes my teeth ache. Kael, pushing his consciousness through to me, refusing to let me drown. His presence wraps around my mind like hands pulling me up from the depths. I'm here, his voice comes through the bond, rough and real and absolutely certain. Come back to me. You're not real, the darkness whispers. He can't reach you here. But he can. And he has, and the certainty of his presence is stronger than any vision. I straighten my spine. I open my eyes. Do I open my eyes? Have they been closed? And I look at the darkness with every ounce of strength I possess. I choose love over fear, I say, and my voice rings through the temple like a bell. I choose the bond. I choose him. I choose myself. The darkness shatters. I'm gasping, on my knees in an ancient chamber. The walls glow with bioluminescent moss, and there's a stone altar in the center. On it rests a weapon that makes my breath stop. A fang carved from material that's part bone, part starlight, suspended in a web of silver chains. The fang of the first wolf. But I don't reach for it. Instead, I stagger back toward the archway, every cell in my body screaming for Kael. I emerge into sunlight, and he's there. He catches me as I fall forward, his arms a cage of safety and desperation. His forehead presses to mine, and I can feel him, really feel him, not through the bond but through his body pressed against mine, trembling. "You're alive," he says against my mouth. "You're alive! You're alive!" I know. I kiss him with everything I have, threading my fingers through his hair, holding him like he might disappear if I let go. "I'm here. I'm back." His hands slide down my back, splaying across the base of my spine, pulling me against him so tightly it's hard to breathe. "Don't ever do that again." "I have to," I whisper. "There are 2 more temples, 2 more trials." He pulls back just enough to look at me, his eyes scanning my face as if checking for damage. "Then I'll find a way to be with you. I'll find a loophole in the magic or I'll burn the entire territory down, but I'm not standing outside again while you suffer." I believe him. Absolutely. The intensity in his eyes is absolute. Behind us, Ronan emerges from the trees. He looks at me, really looks at me, and something flickers across his features. Recognition, maybe, or surprise. "You've changed," he observes. "The power has marked you deeper." He's right. I can feel it. My bridge blood is awake in a way that feels permanent, like I've crossed a threshold I can never uncross. But more than that, I feel stronger, clearer, like I've survived something that was meant to destroy me, and come out the other side forged in fire. Kael's hand finds mine. The next temple? 2 days south, Ronan says, if you move fast. We move south, and Kael doesn't let go of my hand once. Not through the evening, not through the night, not while the ancient magic of this territory sings around us like a living thing. Just before dawn, Ronan shakes us awake. His face is pale. The second temple, he says. It's gone, burned to the ground. Someone got there first. Chapter 14, Closer. By the 5th day in the ancient territories, I'm running on fumes and Kael's touch. The landscape has become increasingly hostile. The trees sometimes seem to lean toward us with malevolent intent, and twice we've had to backtrack when the path simply ceased to exist, as if the territory itself was testing our resolve. My bridge power has been working nearly constantly, pulling on reserves I'm not sure I have. I can feel the cost accumulating in my body. My hands shake when I'm not holding Kael's. My vision gets spotty when I'm not anchored to him. Yesterday I collapsed while we were walking, and he had to carry me for 3 hours until we reached a stream he could use to revive me. This morning I can barely lift my head from the bedroll. Drink, Kael says, helping me to sitting. He's prepared some kind of broth, probably from the game he caught last night, and he brings it to my lips himself, patient and steady. I drink because he asks me to, but the food sits heavy in my stomach. I'm weakening. The territories are pulling from me faster than I can replenish. Not weakening, Kael says, settling beside me. He's been watching me with increasing concern, though he tries to hide it. Adapting. Your power is growing, which means it's demanding more from your body. That's a sign you're getting stronger, not weaker. It doesn't feel like it. He doesn't answer with words. Instead, he removes his shirt and pulls me gently into his arms. The warmth of his skin is immediate, and I feel the tension in my body begin to melt away. My breathing slows, my racing thoughts quieting as I lean against him. It's more than simple comfort. Something about the bond between us steadies me. His alpha energy flows through the connection we share, calming the storm inside me and restoring the strength I'd nearly exhausted. Better? He asks softly, his fingers running gently through my hair. So much better, I admit. But better hardly describes it. It feels as though every part of me is finally settling into place. Our bond hums quietly between us, stronger than ever, filling me with a sense of peace I didn't realize I'd been missing. I tilt my face up to meet his eyes. This is really happening, isn't it? I ask quietly. Things can't go back to the way they were. A gentle smile touches his lips. They never could, he says. Not from the moment I met you. Not from the moment our lives became connected. My hand rests against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. The bridge between us, I whisper. I can feel it now, more clearly than ever. These territories, they're showing me how deeply we're connected. Then trust it, Kael replies, drawing me a little closer. Trust what you feel. I do. I rest my forehead against his, and the world seems to disappear for a while. We remain there in comfortable silence, letting the bond carry everything words cannot. Eventually, he guides me back onto the bedroll, never letting go of my hand. He sits beside me, brushing a loose strand of hair away from my face. Are you sure you're all right? He asks. You've pushed yourself harder than anyone should. I smile reassuringly. I'm stronger than I was. He studies me for a moment before nodding. I know you are. We settle together beneath the blankets, holding each other as the quiet night surrounds us. The bond between us glows with warmth, carrying reassurance, trust, and unwavering love. I've got you, he murmurs near my ear. I always will. Kael? His name leaves my lips little more than a whisper. I hold him a little tighter, drawing strength from the steady beat of his heart. For the first time since entering these territories, I feel whole again, not because the journey is over, but because I'm no longer carrying it alone. The third temple, I murmur after a long silence. 3 days away, he says, pressing a gentle kiss to the top of my head. We have time. Rest now. Build your strength. I'll be right here. I close my eyes, listening to the familiar rhythm of his heartbeat, while his hand slowly strokes my back in a comforting rhythm. Sleep comes quickly. When I dream, I see the woman with my face again. Only this time, she's closer, and she isn't alone. Chapter 15, The Betrayal. We find the second temple at dusk, carved into the side of a mountain that rises impossibly high into a sky that's turned purple and gold. Ronan stops short when he sees it, and something flickers across his weathered features, something that looks almost like fear. "What is it?" Kael asks, immediately protective. His hand moves to my back, keeping me close. "This temple wasn't on the maps I studied," Ronan says slowly. "It shouldn't exist here." "Your maps are incomplete?" I ask. The territory hums around us, and I can feel it through my bridge sense. This place is significant, older, more powerful. That's strange, given how knowledgeable you've been about everything else. Ronan's eyes meet mine, and I see something shift in them, something ancient and dark. "How observant you've become," he says softly. The air crystallizes around us. Kael's body goes rigid, and I feel the spike of adrenaline through the bond. He shifts partially, his frame expanding, his claws extending. "What are you?" "Something old," Ronan says, and his voice has changed. It's layered now, containing multitudes. Something patient, something waiting for the right bridge user to emerge so the path could be opened. "You've been leading us to the temples intentionally, I realize, not to help us, to use us." "To use you," Ronan corrects. He raises his hand, and the air around him shimmers. For a moment, I see him as he really is. Not a man, but something made of shadow and starlight, older than mountains. The fang is meant to stay sealed, but the entity inside doesn't want to remain contained. It's been whispering to me across the centuries, promising me things, showing me futures where it rules and I benefit from its power. "You're working with the entity itself," Kael says, pure fury in his voice. "Your movement from the trees, veil hunters emerging like shadows made flesh, armed with weapons that hum with dark magic. There are at least a dozen, maybe more." "I signaled them hours ago," Ronan says, looking almost apologetic. "They're here to take Sera. With her blood, they can approach the fang without the temple's protection, without the trials." Kael moves before anyone else can react. He's between Ronan and me in a fraction of a second, shifting fully into his alpha form. Massive, deadly, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. His roar is pure power, shaking the ground beneath our feet and causing at least 3 veil hunters to stagger backward. The first one who rushes forward dies before he completes his lunge. Kael's claws tear through magic and flesh with equal ease. But there are too many, and they're well-trained, working in coordinated attacks. "Run!" Kael snarls, not looking away from the fight. "I'm not leaving you! Move!" The command is alpha authority, and my body responds before my mind can argue, stumbling backward toward the forest. But I don't run far. I can't run far. Every cell in my body is screaming to turn back. The bond is fracturing with his struggle, with his pain. One of the veil hunters gets a strike in, and the force of his agony nearly brings me to my knees. I turn, raising my hands, and I let the bridge power loose. It's raw, it's untrained. It's everything I've been building since I entered the territories, and it pours out of me like a dam breaking. The ancient magic responds to my bloodline, surging upward from the earth itself, from the stones and the trees and the mountains. The veil hunters don't stand a chance against power they don't understand. They scatter and die and flee, those who are fast enough. But Ronan is already gone, pulling away through the shadows he commands. Kael roars in frustration, torn between pursuing him and checking on me. "We have to go," I say, my voice ragged. "We have to get to the Fang before they regroup." Kael shifts back to human form, his body scored with wounds that will heal but make him bleed now. I grab his face and kiss him hard, tasting blood and salt and desperation. "The temple," I say, "now." We run together, his hand never leaving mine. Behind us, I can feel the dark energy of the entity inside the temple, now aware that its plot is compromised, now reaching out like tentacles made of shadow. The fang of the first wolf is waiting, and we're running out of time. Enjoying the story so far? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Chapter 16, Running. The forest blurs around me as we crash through the underbrush, branches tearing at my skin, my lungs burning with each desperate breath. Behind us, I can hear them, the Veil Hunters, their voices sharp and terrible, cutting through the darkness like blades. "Faster," Kael growls, his hand never leaving the small of my back, driving me forward with an urgency that makes my heart thunder harder. His alpha voice carries an edge I've never heard before. Raw, primal, afraid, not of the hunters, of losing me. The realization hits me like a physical blow, making me push even harder through the tangled forest. "We've been running for hours!" Ever since Ronan's betrayal, since the ancient circle exploded with Veil Hunter magic, and the sky fractured above us in shades of sickly purple, my power thrums beneath my skin, agitated and desperate, reaching for Kael like a living thing. I can feel his wolf pressing against the surface, barely contained, focused entirely on getting me to safety. "There," he breathes, pointing toward a ridge of dark stone jutting from the earth ahead. The mountains, the caves. My legs scream in protest as we scramble up the rocky slope. I can hear the hunters closer now, maybe 50 yards back. Torches flicker between the trees. Shouts echo across the ravine. They're using dark magic to track us. I can taste it on the air, bitter and wrong, like rotten fruit and ash. Kael's grip on my hand tightens as we reach the cave entrance. It's huge, a gaping mouth of shadow carved into the mountainside. Without hesitation, he pulls me inside, deeper, deeper, into the absolute darkness. Behind us, the shouting grows louder. A hunter appears at the cave entrance, torch held high, silhouetting his body against the night. "There!" he yells. Kael's growl is something between a wolf and a man, a sound of pure alpha command. He pulls me harder, his eyes beginning to glow with that terrible amber light, and I feel his hand shift slightly, claws extending against my skin. The cave swallows us completely. My eyes strain against the black, finding nothing. The hunter's torchlight doesn't penetrate far into the darkness. It stops perhaps 30 feet in, unable to cut through whatever ancient magic dwells in this place. I hear frustrated curses, the sound of boots skidding on stone. They're searching the cave mouth but not venturing deeper. Smart. Dark caves are an alpha wolf's domain. Kael doesn't slow down. He knows these territories in a way I don't, some primal instinct guiding him through passages that shouldn't be navigable in complete darkness. I trust him. I have to. Our bond is screaming at me to stay close, and the physical contact, his palm against mine, his arm across my back, is the only thing keeping my power from spiraling into panic. We run deeper still, until even the hunters' voices fade to echoes. The air changes, becoming cooler, tinged with moisture and something older. The cave opens into a wider chamber, and Kael finally slows, pulling me against the wall, his body shielding mine. I'm shaking, whether from fear, exhaustion, or the overload of my own power. I can't tell anymore. My breath comes in ragged gasps. "Shh," he whispers against my hair, his fingers trailing down my spine in a gesture that's pure comfort. "You're safe. I have you." but I can feel his heartbeat against my back, thundering just as hard as mine. I can feel the tension in his body, the barely leashed violence of his wolf. He's holding himself together by a thread, and that thread is me. They're still searching the entrance, I whisper, pressing back into him. How long can they search? As long as they want. His arms wrap around me, pulling me fully into his embrace. They won't come deeper. Caves like this, they belong to the old magic. Veil hunters are creatures of light and technology. This darkness. He pauses, his chin settling against the top of my head. This darkness is mine. I should feel safer at his words, and I do, at least intellectually. But there's something else underneath, a trembling awareness that we're cornered, hunted. We passed the first temple trial, but we still haven't found the fang, and now Ronan's betrayal has cost us our advantage. Your shoulder, I say, reaching up to find warm blood seeping through his shirt. I must have missed it in the chaos of running. You're hurt. It's nothing. His voice is hard, dismissive. The alpha protecting his mate. The thought sends a spike of heat through me despite our circumstances. Let me see. He turns so I can feel along his shoulder in the darkness. A deep gash, probably from a veil hunter's cursed blade. The wound is already beginning to close, his wolf healing, driven by adrenaline and fury, but it's still bleeding freely. You need to rest, I say. We both do. He pulls me back against him, guiding me deeper into the cave until we find a small alcove, natural and hidden from any light that might penetrate from the entrance. The stone is smooth beneath my palms as we settle, Kael arranging himself so his back is against the rock face, and I'm curled against his chest. His heartbeat beneath my ear is everything. Steady, strong, alive. I've got you, he murmurs again, and this time there's something almost broken in his voice. His hand cups the back of my head, holding me against him like I might disappear. You're not losing me. Not now. Not ever. I can feel his fear now, as clearly as I can feel my own. It's not about the hunters or the quest or even the bond pulling at us. It's something deeper. The primal terror of an alpha facing the possibility of losing his mate. I'm not going anywhere, I promise, and I slide my hand under his shirt, pressing my palm against the steady warmth of his chest, against the heartbeat that matches mine in its frantic rhythm. Outside, we can still hear the distant sounds of the hunters, their torches moving back and forth along the forest floor. But in here, in this ancient darkness, with Kael's arms around me and his heartbeat beneath my hand, I finally let myself breathe. We're trapped, we're hunted, and I've never felt safer or more terrified in my entire life. Chapter 17, The Cave. Dawn comes slowly in the caves, if it comes at all. I wake to Kael's fingers trailing along my collarbone, tracing the mark he left there 2 nights ago when we were safe in the lodge, before the world exploded into chaos. The touch is gentle, reverent, like he's reassuring himself I'm still here. We didn't sleep much. Neither of us could. Every sound from the cave entrance sent us both into high alert, Kael's body rigid against mine, his hand finding mine in the darkness. At some point, the hunters gave up. Either they moved on to search other territories, or they realized we weren't coming out. Kael was right. In the darkness, in the heart of the ancient caves, we had the advantage. Now, as the faintest gray light begins to filter through the deeper passages, I can finally see him, and what I see makes my breath catch. His shoulder wound is still open, dark blood crusted around the edges. His face is gaunt, shadows under his eyes, a thin line of blood dried along his jaw from where he must have bitten his own cheek to keep from screaming during the worst of the chase. There's a gash along his ribs that I didn't even notice in the darkness, and his left eye is swollen shut. He looks like he's been through a war. Let me, I say, pushing myself up on my elbows. Your wounds need tending. They're healing. His voice is rough, barely a whisper. I'll be fine. You'll be better if I help. I crawl out of our small alcove and make my way deeper into the cave system, toward the sound of water. It takes me 10 minutes of careful navigation, but I find it, a small underground pool, the water clear and cold. I tear a strip from my already ruined shirt and soak it, then make my way back to where Kael waits. He doesn't protest when I kneel beside him. He simply watches as I carefully clean each wound, as gently as I can, though I can feel him tense with each touch. The water runs pink and then clear again. His skin is hot beneath my fingertips, not feverish, but burning with the heat of his wolf, his healing magic. You came back for me, I say quietly, unable to stop myself. We haven't talked about it, about how he threw himself at the hunters while I was running, about how he bought me the seconds I needed to reach the cave. When Ronan's magic hit, you could have... I'm not leaving you. His voice is flat, absolute, final, not for any reason, not for anyone. I swallow hard and continue working on his ribs, trying to ignore the way my hands are trembling. The bond between us is screaming to be closer, demanding more than just this clinical tending of wounds. I can feel his power pressing against mine, hungry, desperate. I was terrified, he says suddenly, and when I look up at his face, I see something I've never seen before. Fear. Raw, naked fear in those amber eyes. When Ronan's magic wrapped around you, when I felt the bond start to stretch. I've faced hunters before. I've stood against magic that should have killed me. But that moment, feeling you pulled away, he swallows hard. If I lost you, I wouldn't be the man you think I am. I'd be a monster. The vulnerability in his voice shatters something inside me. This is the alpha who commands entire territories, who stood against dark hunters and survived ancient trials. And yet, beneath all that strength, he's terrified of losing me. I lean forward and kiss him. The kiss isn't timid. It carries every emotion we've been holding back. Fear, hope, relief, and love. My hands rise to his neck, drawing him closer, and he answers without hesitation, wrapping his arms around me as though letting go is no longer an option. I'm here, I whisper when we finally part. I'm not going anywhere. A quiet breath escapes him as he pulls me into another embrace, resting his forehead against mine. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. The silence says everything our words cannot. I need you, he admits softly. I need to know you're really here. You don't have to face this alone anymore. His eyes search mine, and I see the tension slowly leaving them. The bond between us stirs, carrying reassurance from one heart to the other. I can feel his fear, his determination, and the overwhelming depth of his love, as clearly as if they were my own emotions. I reach up and brush a hand along his cheek before helping him remove his heavy outer shirt, wanting nothing more than to ease the burden he's been carrying all day. The old scars across his shoulders catch my attention again, silent reminders of battles that shaped the man standing before me. My fingertips trace one healed scar with quiet admiration. You've carried so much. His smile is small but genuine. So have you. I shake my head. Not like you. He gently takes my hand before it can wander farther, pressing a kiss into my palm. We've both survived, he says. That's what matters. Emotion tightens my throat. I rest my head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, while his hand slowly strokes my back. The cave around us grows quiet, leaving only the sound of our breathing and the gentle hum of the mate bond connecting us. For the first time in days, neither of us is thinking about hunters, battles, or the journey ahead. We're simply together. Eventually, we settle beneath the blankets, still holding each other close. His heartbeat gradually slows beneath my cheek, and I feel my own breathing match its rhythm. I love you, he says quietly. There is no hesitation, no uncertainty, only complete honesty. I know, I whisper with a smile. I love you too. He tightens his embrace just a little, and we remain there as daylight slowly fades beyond the mouth of the cave. The danger hasn't disappeared. Our enemies are still searching. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but for a few precious hours, wrapped in each other's warmth and strengthened by the bond we share, the world finally feels quiet. We fall asleep believing we've found a brief moment of peace. I should have known better. Fear has a way of finding you, whether your eyes are open or closed, and what waits for us at dawn is far more dangerous than anything the darkness had prepared us for. Chapter 18, Taken. It happens in the moment between sleep and waking, that vulnerable space where consciousness is still fragile and the world not quite real. 1 second I'm drifting, Kael's arm around my waist, his breath warm against the back of my neck, his heartbeat a steady anchor beneath my ear. The next second, the world shatters into chaos with the violence of breaking glass. The attack is coordinated and vicious. Dark magic floods the cave, violet tendrils that burn where they touch exposed skin with a sensation like liquid fire. I'm torn from Kael's arms so violently that his hands leave marks on me, his fingers desperately trying to hold on as I'm yanked backward, the bond between us suddenly screaming with his fury and terror. No! His roar is pure alpha fury, the kind of sound that should have shattered stone and split the world open. He lunges for me, his body shifting mid-movement, his wolf emerging in a desperate blur of muscle and fang. But a wave of dark magic slams him against the far wall, pinning him there with the force of a mountain falling. I see his face contort with rage and something worse, something that looks almost like despair, as I'm dragged deeper into the violet light. His amber eyes lock on mine, and in them I see a fear so profound it mirrors my own. "Get them separated!" someone shouts. The Veil Hunter's voice is cold, clinical, perfectly measured. The bond is still active. We need to sever it before she fully integrates with the alpha power. I struggle, throwing everything I have against my captors. My power explodes outward, desperate and wild, thrashing like a trapped animal in a cage. But there are too many of them, at least a dozen, maybe more. Their combined magic twists around mine like serpents, binding it, strangling it, slowly suffocating my ability to fight back. "Sera!" Kael's voice cracks with desperation, with a rawness that tears at something deep inside me. He's fighting against the magic holding him, and I can see blood pouring from where the violet tendrils are cutting into his skin, leaving deep wounds that refuse to close. His eyes never leave mine, and in them I see a fear so profound it makes my heart break into pieces. "Stay." The dark magic flares brighter, almost blinding in its intensity, and Kael's voice abruptly cuts off. I feel it at the exact moment it happens. The bond between us, that brilliant golden thread that I've felt pulling at me since the moment I met him, the thing that's become as essential to me as breathing, suddenly goes black. Not severed, not exactly, but muted, choked, wrapped in darkness that makes me want to scream, to claw at my own skin, to do anything to reach back through that connection. The absence of him in my mind is the worst pain I've ever experienced, worse than any physical wound, worse than hunger or cold or fear. For weeks I've felt his presence like a second heartbeat, a constant reassurance that I was never truly alone. His emotions, his thoughts, his need for me echoing through every fiber of my being. And now there's nothing, only silence. A vast, suffocating silence where the bond used to sing. The hunters drag me up the cave passage, toward the light. I'm struggling, fighting, but it's like moving through mud. Without Kael's power to bolster mine, my magic feels weak, almost pathetic in comparison. The hunters bind my wrists with enchanted chains that burn where they touch, and I feel my power shrinking back into myself, trapped, desperate, unable to reach toward him. I turn back one last time and see Kael emerging from the deeper cave, still fighting against his bonds with everything he has. His face is wild, animalistic, and his wolf is so close to the surface that his eyes are entirely amber, glowing with an inner light of pure rage. He's screaming my name, and I can see his mouth moving, but I can't hear him over the roar of dark magic that fills the entire cave system. And then the cave entrance floods with sunlight, and I'm dragged outside, and Kael's voice disappears entirely. The bond goes silent. The hunters throw me into some kind of magical containment, a cage of violet energy that crackles against my skin like angry wasps with tiny electric stings. Around me, I see the forest we ran through, but it's been transformed into a camp. Tents of black fabric arranged in military precision, hunters in dark robes moving methodically through the space like a well-oiled machine. They're well-organized, professional, dangerous in ways I'm only beginning to understand. Bring her to the processing tent, the lead hunter orders. She's a tall woman with ice-blue eyes and silver scars running down the side of her face like lightning strikes. Her voice carries the weight of absolute authority. We need to get started on the extraction immediately. The Alpha will be here within hours, and we need to have her prepared by then. I'm pulled from the cage and dragged across the camp. Every step away from the cave, away from where Kael is, feels like a cord being cut, a piece of my soul being torn away. I keep reaching for the bond, desperately clawing for that golden thread, but all I find is cold silence and the growing certainty that something terrible has happened. He's still alive, I know that much. If he were dead, the bond would be completely severed, not just muted. But he's blocked from me somehow, and I'm blocked from him, and the isolation of it is suffocating, pressing down on me like water in the deep. Inside the tent, they shackle me to a stone table that's covered in symbols and runes designed to contain magic. The chains are spelled with precision, designed to prevent power from flowing through them, to trap it within my own body. I can feel my power pressing against them like a trapped animal, desperate to escape, desperate to find Kael, desperate to break free. The Alpha won't be joining us, the scarred hunter says, running a long finger down my cheek. I try to flinch away, but the restraints hold me fast, immobilizing me completely. We've contained the cave. The old magic won't let our people in, but it also won't let him out. He can reach you if he wants. We'll make sure of that, but it will cost him a lot of power to override the ancient wards we've woven into that stone. She leans close, and I smell something sweet and rotten on her breath, like decay and honeysuckle mixed together. He won't risk it. Not when he knows we'll kill you the moment he tries. The Alpha isn't stupid. He'll cut the bond properly, and when he does, your power will be entirely ours to harvest. You'll be nothing but an empty shell, and we'll control the most powerful magic in existence. I want to tell her she's wrong. Kael would never sacrifice me, would never cut the bond to save his own skin. But as I look into her cold blue eyes that have seen suffering and caused it without blinking, I realize that she's counting on that. She's counting on him trying to reach me, on him draining himself trying to break through her magic. She's betting everything on his love for me. She's counting on his love for me to be his weakness, and he'll willingly step into that trap. The tent flap closes, and I'm left in darkness, shackled to the stone, with nothing but the suffocating silence of the bond and the terrible knowledge that I might have just gotten him killed. Chapter 19. The Void. Sera, time becomes meaningless in the darkness. I don't know if it's been hours or days. There are no windows in the tent, no way to track the sun. The hunters come and go in shifts, working with mechanical precision. They've positioned needles of pure dark magic into my skin at various points along my body, at my wrists, my ankles, at pressure points along my spine and beneath my collarbone. Every time I try to move, the needles flare with pain that makes me bite my tongue until I taste blood, until the copper flavor fills my mouth. They're draining my power slowly, methodically, like farmers harvesting a crop in late autumn. I can feel it leaving me with each breath, flowing out through the needles and into some kind of collection vessel, a dark glass orb that sits in the corner, slowly filling with the luminescent silver of my bridge magic. It's like having parts of myself torn away repeatedly, each extraction leaving me a little more hollow, a little more diminished. "She's resisting," one of the hunters says. He's a thin man, with white eyes that see nothing. Or perhaps they see too much. Perhaps they see into the places where suffering lives. The power is fighting the extraction process. It's rejecting the needles. Of course it's fighting. The scarred woman, they call her commander, says coolly, as though we're discussing a faulty piece of machinery. The power is bonded to the alpha. As long as the bond exists, even muted, the magic will resist its removal. It wants to return to him. We need to sever it completely, cut it off at the root. I try to reach for the bond again, like I have 100 times since they took me. My consciousness extends outward, searching through the void where Kael should be, where that golden thread should shine like a star. There's nothing, just darkness and silence and the terrible absence of him, like reaching into a grave and finding only emptiness. At first, I tried to be strong. I set my jaw and told myself that Kael was coming, that he wouldn't let me go, that the bond we'd forged was stronger than any magic these hunters could muster. But as the hours or days wear on, as my power is drained bit by bit, as the silence of the bond becomes more and more real, I start to wonder. Maybe he did cut it. Maybe he realized the hunters were right, that I was a liability. Powerful mates are supposed to be an asset, but what if I'm more burden than benefit? What if loving me is slowly destroying him? What if... No. I clench my jaw against the thought, fighting it like it's a physical thing trying to crawl inside my skull. Kael wouldn't abandon me. I know him. I know the feel of his heartbeat against mine, the way his voice cracks when he says my name, the way he looks at me like I'm the only real thing in a world of shadows. He wouldn't leave me here. He wouldn't. But the doubt is insidious, growing like a poison in the darkness, spreading through my mind like ink in water. I don't eat what they bring me. The hunters don't seem to care. They're not here to keep me healthy. They're here to drain me. I'm becoming thinner, weaker, more translucent with each passing hour. My skin is getting pale, almost gray, my hair losing its luster and growing dull. I'm becoming a ghost of myself, a shadow of the woman I was before all of this began. The only thing that keeps me tethered to reality is the memory of Kael. I cling to every moment we've shared like a lifeline, like a rope thrown to a drowning woman. The way his hand felt in mine when we ran through the forest, strong and certain. The rough rumble of his voice when he said, "I have you," with absolute conviction. The desperate tenderness of his touch in the cave when he was cleaning my wounds, treating me like something precious. The force of him above me, around me, inside me. His body and his power, and his very soul intertwined with mine in that moment when we reaffirmed our connection. I replay these moments over and over in the darkness, examining them in exquisite detail like photographs I'm afraid will fade. The exact shade of amber in his eyes when he looks at me, not the cold alpha eyes, but the warm eyes he reserves only for me. The salt taste of his skin when I kissed the hollow of his throat. The way his fingers would tangle in my hair when he was trying to calm himself, when he was on the edge of losing control. The heartbeat I learned to sync my own to, the sound that meant safety, that meant home, that meant I was exactly where I belonged. "She's fading," one of the hunters observes, and I realize with dull surprise that I can barely hear them anymore. The words reach me as if through water. The power is becoming sluggish. The extraction is slowing. "Keep draining," the commander says with cold precision. "And someone try to sever the bond again. I want it completely severed before she fades entirely. We can't extract the power if the bond is still partially active. It will keep trying to return to the source." They come at me with something dark and terrible, magic that feels like ice and fire combined, like being burned and frozen simultaneously. It wraps around where the bond used to sing, trying to choke out the last remaining connection, trying to tear that golden thread to ribbons. I scream and scream, but the sound comes out as barely a whisper, a dying echo in the tent. Hang on, I think desperately, reaching for that golden thread one more time, though I know it's futile, though every attempt has failed before. Hang on. Please, Kael, I'm still here. I'm still yours. Please find me. Please don't let me go. Please. The darkness swallows everything. I drift in the void, consciousness fragmenting like a broken mirror, pieces of myself scattering into the black. The last thing I remember thinking is that maybe this is what it means to fade. Not to die, but to slowly become less than nothing, to dissolve into the darkness until there's no trace that I was ever here at all, until it's like I never mattered, like I never existed. Maybe that's a mercy. Chapter 20. Reunion. The morning light filters through the cave opening in soft amber ribbons, and I drift in and out of consciousness, caught between dreams and the overwhelming reality of Kael's presence beside me. His arm hasn't moved from across my waist all night. I can feel his heartbeat steady against my back, a drum of pure possession and relief. My body aches in that peculiar way that speaks of trauma survived. The places where the veil hunter's chains bit into my wrists are mottled purple and black. My shoulders scream when I shift. But underneath the pain is something else. A warmth that isn't just body heat. It's him. It's us. The bond hums like a live wire reconnected, and I never want it to stop singing. "Don't move," Kael murmurs against my hair, and I feel the rumble of it through his chest. "You're hurt. So are you," I whisper back, tilting my head to look at him. Even in the half-light, I can see the raw lines of his face, the exhaustion carved into his jaw. New scars mark his shoulder and collarbone, deep ones that I didn't give him. The veil hunters. How long was I gone? 6 days. His voice is gravel and broken glass. 6 days too long. He pulls back just enough to look at me, and the raw emotion in his eyes nearly undoes me. Those amber depths are rimmed with red. I've never seen him look afraid before. Not the unshakable alpha, not Kael who commands mountains and drives packs to their knees with a single glance. But here he is, terrified, holding me like I might shatter into smoke. "I'm here," I say, and reach up to touch his face. My fingers find a fresh cut along his temple. "I'm here." "You are." He turns his head to press his lips to my palm, and the gesture is so tender it breaks something in me, and I'm never letting you out of my sight again. The possessiveness should probably bother me more. It probably would, if I weren't equally unwilling to be separated from him. The bond pulled at me like a fishhook through bone when we were apart. Even now, knowing he's here, I need to touch him, to feel the solid reality of him. "We need to get you cleaned up," he says, helping me sit carefully. "Can you manage?" I nod, though the movement sends a wave of dizziness through my skull. The hunters had me drugged, something that clogged my magic and made the world feel cotton-wrapped and wrong. It's wearing off, but slowly. Kael fills a basin with water from the underground spring, heated by stones from the deeper thermal vents he's somehow managed to work with. He's always been resourceful, but this is different. This is tenderness in action, every movement calculated not to cause me pain. He sits me carefully at the lip of the basin and kneels behind me with soap, actual soap, probably scavenged from my things. When he washes my hair, his fingers are careful on my scalp, massaging away the grime and blood and fear. The water runs dark at first, then gradually clearer. I close my eyes and let myself sink into the sensation of his care. His thumbs trace small circles at my temples. His fingers work through the tangles with infinite patience. "You should rest," I murmur, feeling guilty. "You look like you haven't slept in days." "I haven't." He says it like it's obvious. Like of course he wouldn't sleep while I was in danger, while I was gone, while I'm still healing. Sleep now. I'll keep watch. Something in my chest cracks open at that. The old Kael, the one I bonded with 3 months ago, would have demanded rest, would have made it an order. This Kael, tempered by terror, just wants to be near me. Only if you sit, I bargain. Next to me. Close. He doesn't argue. When I'm clean, he dresses my wrists with strips of cloth and some kind of herbal salve that smells like starlight and pine. His touch is reverent, careful, worshipful. He treats each bruise like a sacred thing, kissing my palms, my inner wrists, the space where my pulse jumps at his touch. I thought I'd lost you, he whispers into my skin. I felt it snap, the bond, like a rope burning through. It was like dying, like being torn in half. I'm here! I thread my fingers through his dark hair, pulling him close. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. He rises slowly, moving to position himself beside me on the nest of furs and blankets he's clearly been preparing for me. The cave is warmer than I expected, and I realize he's been tending a careful fire outside the entrance, shielded so it doesn't draw attention. He thinks of everything, even through his fear, even through his devastation, he's planning, protecting. I turn into him, and he receives me with a soft groan, shifting carefully so I'm tucked against his chest without putting pressure on my worst injuries. His arms come around me, one hand curving over my hip, the other cradling the back of my head. Tell me what happened, I murmur, after they took me. His heartbeat falters. I can feel it skip, feel the tension coil through him. I followed your scent, tracked you for 2 days before I found the temple where they had you. His voice is carefully controlled, but underneath it is the howl of something feral and furious. When I smelled the blood, your blood, I stopped being rational. There was no strategy, no plan. I was a weapon, and they were targets. I trace the new scars on his shoulder, understanding what he's not saying. You won. Barely. His hand tightens on my hip. 3 hunters didn't make it out, but the others scattered. They have people, Sera. An organization. This isn't just about recapturing you. It's bigger. The words settle over me like a shadow, but I refuse to be afraid today. Today I get to focus on the fact that he came for me, that he saved me, that we're here, together, and the bond is thrumming through both of us like a second heartbeat. Later, I say quietly. We'll face it later. Right now, I just need you to hold me. He does. His arms tighten, and he buries his face in my hair, breathing me in like I'm air and he's been drowning. We fall asleep like that, tangled, inseparable, still half terrified that the other will vanish. But we're here, both of us, and the bond, our beautiful, unbreakable bond, holds us steady through the long hours until dawn breaks again. But when dawn comes, Ronan is gone. His pack is still here, his weapons are still here, but Ronan himself has vanished without a trace, and carved into the tree where he slept, a single word: run. Enjoying the story so far? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Chapter 21, Recovery. The morning light filters through the cave opening in soft amber ribbons, and I drift in and out of consciousness, caught between dreams and the overwhelming reality of Kael's presence beside me. His arm hasn't moved from across my waist all night. I can feel his heartbeat steady against my back, a drum of pure possession and relief. My body aches in that peculiar way that speaks of trauma survived. The places where the Veil Hunter's chains bit into my wrists are mottled purple and black. My shoulders scream when I shift, but underneath the pain is something else, a warmth that isn't just body heat. It's him. It's us. The bond hums like a live wire reconnected, and I never want it to stop singing. Don't move, Kael murmurs against my hair, and I feel the rumble of it through his chest. You're hurt. So are you, I whisper back, tilting my head to look at him. Even in the half-light, I can see the raw lines of his face, the exhaustion carved into his jaw. New scars mark his shoulder and collarbone, deep ones that I didn't give him, the veil hunters. How long was I gone? 6 days. His voice is gravel and broken glass. 6 days too long. He pulls back just enough to look at me, and the raw emotion in his eyes nearly undoes me. Those amber depths are rimmed with red. I've never seen him look afraid before. Not the unshakable alpha. Not Kael, who commands mountains and drives packs to their knees with a single glance. But here he is, terrified, holding me like I might shatter into smoke. I'm here, I say, and reach up to touch his face. My fingers find a fresh cut along his temple. I'm here. You are. He turns his head to press his lips to my palm, and the gesture is so tender it breaks something in me. And I'm never letting you out of my sight again. The possessiveness should probably bother me more. It probably would, if I weren't equally unwilling to be separated from him. The bond pulled at me like a fishhook through bone when we were apart. Even now, knowing he's here, I need to touch him, to feel the solid reality of him. We need to get you cleaned up, he says, helping me sit carefully. Can you manage? I nod, though the movement sends a wave of dizziness through my skull. The hunters had me drugged, something that clogged my magic and made the world feel cotton-wrapped and wrong. It's wearing off, but slowly. Kael fills a basin with water from the underground spring, heated by stones from the deeper thermal vents he's somehow managed to work with. He's always been resourceful, but this is different. This is tenderness in action, every movement calculated not to cause me pain. He sits me carefully at the lip of the basin and kneels behind me with soap, actual soap, probably scavenged from my things. When he washes my hair, his fingers are careful on my scalp, massaging away the grime and blood and fear. The water runs dark at first, then gradually clearer. I close my eyes and let myself sink into the sensation of his care. His thumbs trace small circles at my temples. His fingers work through the tangles with infinite patience. You should rest, I murmur, feeling guilty. You look like you haven't slept in days. I haven't. He says it like it's obvious. Like of course he wouldn't sleep while I was in danger, while I was gone, while I'm still healing. Sleep now. I'll keep watch. Something in my chest cracks open at that. The old Kael, the one I bonded with 3 months ago, would have demanded rest, would have made it an order. This Kael, tempered by terror, just wants to be near me. Only if you sit, I bargain, next to me, close. He doesn't argue. When I'm clean, he dresses my wrists with strips of cloth and some kind of herbal salve that smells like starlight and pine. His touch is reverent, careful, worshipful. He treats each bruise like a sacred thing, kissing my palms, my inner wrists, the space where my pulse jumps at his touch. I thought I'd lost you, he whispers into my skin. I felt it snap, the bond, like a rope burning through. It was like dying, like being torn in half. I'm here. I thread my fingers through his dark hair, pulling him close. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. He rises slowly, moving to position himself beside me on the nest of furs and blankets he's clearly been preparing for me. The cave is warmer than I expected, and I realize he's been tending a careful fire outside the entrance, shielded so it doesn't draw attention. He thinks of everything, even through his fear, even through his devastation. He's planning, protecting. I turn into him, and he receives me with a soft groan, shifting carefully so I'm tucked against his chest without putting pressure on my worst injuries. His arms come around me, one hand curving over my hip, the other cradling the back of my head. Tell me what happened, I murmur. After they took me, his heartbeat falters. I can feel it skip, feel the tension coil through him. I followed your scent, tracked you for 2 days before I found the temple where they had you. His voice is carefully controlled. but underneath it is the howl of something feral and furious. When I smelled the blood, your blood, I stopped being rational. There was no strategy, no plan. I was a weapon, and they were targets. I traced the new scars on his shoulder, understanding what he's not saying. You won. Barely. His hand tightens on my hip. 3 hunters didn't make it out, but the others scattered. They have people, Sera. An organization. This isn't just about recapturing you. It's bigger. The words settle over me like a shadow, but I refuse to be afraid today. Today I get to focus on the fact that he came for me, that he saved me, that we're here, together, and the bond is thrumming through both of us like a second heartbeat. Later, I say quietly. We'll face it later. Right now, I just need you to hold me. He does. His arms tighten, and he buries his face in my hair, breathing me in like I'm air and he's been drowning. We fall asleep like that, tangled, inseparable, still half terrified that the other will vanish. But we're here, both of us, and the bond, our beautiful, unbreakable bond, holds us steady through the long hours until dawn breaks again. But when dawn comes, Ronan is gone. His pack is still here, his weapons are still here, but Ronan himself has vanished without a trace. And carved into the tree where he slept, a single word, run, chapter 22, the final temple. We reach the 3rd temple on the 5th day of travel, and I know immediately that this one is different from the others. The first 2 had been hidden, secreted away in forest canopies, buried beneath layers of mountain rock. This one stands in plain sight, carved directly into a sheer cliff face that seems to glow with an inner light. The stone is pale as bone, and runes run down its length in spiraling patterns that make my bridge senses sing. This is it, I whisper, feeling it resonate through my bones. Kael's hand tightens on my waist. We've barely left each other's side since the cave, and this is the moment we both knew was coming. You have to go in, alone. I know. I turn to face him, and even though I'm trying to be brave, my voice shakes. Kael, I'm frightened. He cups my face with both hands, and his amber eyes are storm dark with emotion. I know, love, but you're the only one who can do this. You're the bridge, and I'll be right here, waiting for you. I can feel him through the bond, the steady pulse of his presence, his absolute certainty that I'll survive this. It should make me confident. Instead, it makes me terrified that I'll let him down. The temple's entrance is a mouth of shadow, and stepping across the threshold feels like crossing into another world. The air changes immediately, becomes thick, charged with power that makes my skin prickle. Behind me, I hear Kael calling out, trying to follow, but an invisible wall rises between us. I can still feel him through the bond, but it's muffled, like he's on the other side of glass. The interior of the temple is impossible. The space is far larger than the external dimensions should allow, and the walls are lined with liquid that moves like water but glows from within. It shifts through colors, deep purple to electric blue to the burning white of starlight. In the center of the chamber is a circle of stones, and suspended above it, floating in the air, is an object that makes my breath catch. It looks like a fang, long, curved, pale as ivory. But it's not quite solid. It wavers between existing and not existing, between the physical world and somewhere else entirely. The fang of the first wolf, the thing every pack has been searching for, the thing that will end the Veil Hunters, and the cost of claiming it is waiting for me in the stones. I walk into the circle, and the world falls away. The vision is different this time. There are no trials, no tests of strength or courage. Instead, I see my own future, laid out like a map of a life that isn't guaranteed. The bridge power is beautiful and terrible. Every time I use it fully, every time I channel the full force of what I am, it burns through my cells like fire. It feeds on my lifespan like a hungry thing. I see decades of use, and the body paying the price. I see myself growing old before my time. My power brilliant, but my body failing. Unless there is an anchor. The vision shows me Kael, and I understand. The bond between us isn't incidental. It's the mechanism. When I use my full power, I burn through him instead. He takes the cost into his own immortal lifespan. The one thing werewolves trade for their strength is time, and he has centuries of it to spend. Every time I sing the bridge frequency, I carve years from his life. The choice crystallizes before me. Claim this power and slowly steal his eternity, or refuse it and condemn the packs to slavery under the Veil Hunters. There is no third option. I stand in the light of the temple, and I accept it. I accept the cost. I accept that I will love him enough to take his years, that he will love me enough to give them. It's not a choice any of us should have to make, but it's the only one we have. The fang stops wavering. It becomes solid, real, present. I reach up, and my fingers close around ancient ivory that hums with power older than the mountains themselves. The moment I touch it, I feel Kael scream. It's not a physical sound. It's a psychic wail of agony transmitted through the bond. The fang recognizes its new keeper, and it begins the work of bonding with me, and the backlash of that bonding slams through our connection like lightning. I pull the fang to my chest and run. The temple walls start to collapse, the liquid light evaporating, and I burst through the entrance just as the whole structure implodes behind me. Kael catches me as I fall, and I'm crying, sobbing, because I felt what he felt. I understand now what I've chosen. I understand what it will cost him. I know, he says into my hair, rocking me like I'm broken, like we're both broken and barely held together. I know, love, and I would do it again, 1,000 times. I would do it again. You're in pain, I manage. It's already fading, but I can feel it through the bond. It's not fading at all. It's just becoming something he'll learn to carry, the way he carries everything else. We're going to end this. I hold the fang between us, and it sings the same frequency as our bond. We're already becoming a weapon. All we have to do now is learn to use it. Chapter 23. The Fang. 3 days to the valley where the Veil Hunters have made their stronghold. 3 days for Kael and me to learn the language of the fang, to understand what it is we're carrying. It's not a weapon in the traditional sense. There's no blade, no edge designed to cut. It's a tuning fork of impossible precision, forged from something that exists in the space between the physical world and the shadow veil. When I hold it and let my bridge senses open fully, I can feel the frequency it wants to sing, a vibration that will expose the hunters for what they are and unravel the magic that binds them to our world. The cost is staggering. To channel it fully, I have to anchor myself completely in Kael. I have to open myself entirely to the bond. Let him feel everything I feel. Let our heartbeats synchronize until we're not two creatures anymore, but one being split across two bodies. And when I sing the frequency through that bond, it will take something from him. Years, Kael says calmly, though I can feel the lie under the words. Not years. A piece of his immortality, his connection to the eternal wild that pulses beneath every werewolf's skin. It's worth it, he says, and he means it. Every time he says it, he means it more. The night before we march toward the stronghold, Kael takes me to a cliff overlooking the valley. Below us, I can see the fires of the hunters' camp, see the wards they've woven around their position. They're waiting for us. They know we're coming. The fang has been singing through the bond so constantly that anyone attuned to shadow magic would be able to feel us approach. Last night, he says, and there's something in his voice that makes my pulse falter. Let me have this last night before everything changes. He doesn't ask anything of me except one thing. Trust me. I do, I answer without hesitation. I always will. He leads me to a soft bed of moss near the cliff's edge, where the stars shine brilliantly above us, and the cool night breeze carries the scent of the forest. We settle there together, surrounded by silence, the vast sky stretching endlessly overhead. His hand finds mine, his fingers intertwining with mine, as though grounding us both in the present. Every small gesture carries a quiet tenderness, every glance speaking volumes that words never could. "I need you to understand something," he says softly. "Tomorrow, when you sing the fang through our bond, I won't face it alone. I'll feel you beside me through every moment. No matter what happens, we'll face it together." Hearing him say it makes everything suddenly feel real. Tomorrow is no longer some distant possibility. It's waiting for us. He gently helps me out of my travel cloak so I can wrap myself in a warm blanket beside him. Honest, certain. I love every part of who you are. Emotion tightens my throat. I love you too. The mate bond glows warmly between us, carrying every feeling we struggle to put into words. It feels stronger than ever, not because of destiny alone, but because of every choice we've made to stand beside one another. Time slips quietly past as we talk about the journey that brought us here, remembering old victories, impossible odds, and the people who believed in us along the way. Eventually, I find myself tracing one of the old scars across his chest. "These were from our first battle together," I whisper. He smiles faintly. "And the newer ones? You helped me survive those too." I shake my head. "You could still leave," I say quietly, needing to ask one final time. "Take the fang and keep yourself safe. Let me do this alone." He lets out a soft laugh, though sadness lingers behind it. No. The answer comes without hesitation. It was no yesterday, it's no today, and it'll be no every day after this. Our lives may be shorter after tomorrow, I say. Maybe. He turns to face me fully, his eyes steady. But a lifetime spent beside you is worth more than an eternity without you. The certainty in his voice silences every fear I still carry. I lean forward and kiss him softly, holding on to the quiet strength we share. Above us, the stars continue their endless journey across the sky. Tomorrow will change everything. Tonight, we choose to remember why we're fighting. Sometime before dawn, the fang begins to hum in my hands. A low vibration spreads through the quiet night. The sound grows stronger. Through our bond, I suddenly feel Kael's heartbeat falter. Not from sleep, not from fear. Something else is happening. Something the fang has awakened. Chapter 24. The Battle. The Veil Hunter's stronghold erupts into chaos the moment we crest the ridge. Kael is beside me in wolf form, massive and terrible and beautiful, his dark fur nearly black in the pre-dawn light. Behind us are 3 small packs, wolf shifters who heard the call through the network of alliances Kael has spent months building. Not many. The hunters have numbers, resources, magic that twists the very fabric of reality, but they don't have what we have. They don't have the fang. They don't have a bridge. The wards around the stronghold flare as we approach, burning with purple-black fire designed to weaken shifters, to sever our connection to the wild. But I'm not a regular shifter, and Kael isn't either anymore. Not since the bond marked him permanently. The wards wash over us like water. Now, I tell Kael, and he roars, a sound that shakes the earth. The battle erupts. The hunters pour out of the stronghold like a disturbed hive, and there's a confused moment of violence, steel and blood and the acrid smell of burning magic. But it's not the real battle. Not yet. This is just the opening move. I move to the center of our formation, and I begin to sing. The fang vibrates in my hands, and the frequency it wants to sing is not something that exists in the physical world. It's the voice of the first wolf, the mother song of creation that werewolves themselves are built from, and I'm the only one who can channel it. Kael comes to me immediately, abandoning his fight to position himself behind me. His arms come around me, one hand flat over my heart, the other gripping my shoulder. His forehead presses to mine. "Open," he murmurs. "Let me in completely." I do. I drop every wall between us, every shred of privacy or self-preservation. The bond between us explodes into light. His heartbeat becomes my heartbeat. His breath becomes my breath. I can feel him so completely that it's impossible to tell where he ends and I begin. And through that connection, I begin to sing. The sound doesn't come from my mouth. It comes from the place where our souls touch, from the frequency of the bond itself. It's not a sound that human ears can process. It's a vibration that unravels the magic binding the hunters to our world. It strips away their disguises, their wards, their protections. It exposes them for what they really are, things that don't belong here, parasites feeding on borrowed reality. The hunters scream. Some try to flee. Some try to fight back, but there's nothing to fight. The frequency isn't a weapon that cuts or burns. It's a frequency that denies them the right to exist here, and one by one, they unravel. I feel it taking pieces of Kael, not pain, but absence. A slow dissolution of something vast and eternal within him. Every note of the song costs him, and I can feel him choosing to pay it anyway. His arms tighten around me. His heartbeat accelerates. He sings with me, silent and determined. The valley erupts into light. Not physical light, but spiritual light. The kind that only a bridge and her bonded wolf can see. And in that light, the veil hunters cease to exist. One moment they're real, the next they're not. Erased from our world as though they never were. The frequency dies. I stop singing, and immediately I feel Kael crumple. He's still there through the bond, but it's different. He's still himself, still whole, but something fundamental has shifted. He's less tethered to the wild magic, less connected to the eternal pulse of werewolf existence. He'll live, I can feel that. He'll be fine. But he's paid a price I didn't fully understand until this moment. I turn in his arms and find him already shifting back to human form, his body trembling with the effort. "Kael, I'm here," he says, and it's true, but his voice is different. More grounded in the physical world, less resonant with the otherworldly power that defined him as alpha. "I'm here, love. We did it." I kiss him desperately, tasting blood and power, and the strange, sweet flavor of magical exhaustion. The bond is still thrumming between us, but it's quieter now, settled, complete. Behind us, the remaining hunters who tried to flee are pursued by Kael's allies. But the real threat is gone. The organized cruelty, the infrastructure of the Veil Hunters' operation. It all unraveled in that frequency. We survived, barely, together. Then Kael collapses, not from exhaustion, from the bond. I feel it snap taut, then go slack, like a rope cut clean. His eyes roll back, his body goes limp, and the mark on my shoulder, our mark, begins to fade. Chapter 25. Marked. The journey home takes 2 weeks, and I spend most of it either sleeping or watching Kael sleep. He needs the rest more than ever. His body is still adjusting to the fundamental change in his nature. He's less feral, I notice. The edge of the predator that always hovered beneath his skin has dulled. He's more human now, and he grieves for it in small, quiet ways, though he never says so. I grieve too, but for different reasons. Every time the bond hums, I feel the years I've carved from him. It's there in the accounting of power exchanged, a debt written in time itself. He says it doesn't matter. He says he'll never regret it, and he means it, which is the worst part. On the 15th day, we reach the territory that Kael's pack claims. The valley is beautiful in spring, trees bursting into new growth, the river running clean and clear. Home looks different to me now, changed, though nothing about it has actually changed. Or maybe I'm the one who's different. That night, Kael takes me to a pool fed by a hot spring. The water is warm, the air fragrant with minerals and wild growth. He washes me in the water like he did at the cave, but this time with the confidence of a man who knows I'm fully healed. This time without the fear underneath. "Look," he says, tilting my shoulder to catch the light. The mark on my skin where the bond lives. It's always been there, a luminous pattern of runes and symbols that only werewolves can fully see. But it's different now. Brighter, deeper. Where it used to glow like moonlight, it now shines like starlight, permanent and undeniable. It's marked into my very flesh, a visible sign that I belong to him, that he belongs to me, that we are bound at levels that transcend the physical. The bond has fully integrated with you, Kael murmurs, running his fingers over the marks. You're not just a bridge anymore. You're a bridge bonded, one of a kind. What about you? I ask. He steps back into the water with me, pulling me close. I'm less alpha than I was, but I'm more yours. The bond took what I was, the wildness, the endless hunger, and it replaced it with something else. Something that will let me age at a slower pace than you now. I'll still live for centuries, but not forever, not like before. He says it matter-of-factly, but I can feel the weight of it through the bond. I'm sorry, I whisper. Don't be. He tilts my chin up with one finger and kisses me, soft and deep and full of promise. I would do it 1,000 times. I would unmake myself entirely if it meant keeping you safe. That's what love is, Sera. It's the willingness to let someone matter more than your own immortality. He carries me out of the water and gently sets me down on a bed of soft moss and blankets. The night around us is quiet, broken only by the sound of the breeze moving through the trees and the steady rhythm of our breathing. He kneels beside me, his hand finding mine, before drawing me into a close embrace. In that moment, everything else fades away. The battles, the danger, the uncertainty waiting beyond tomorrow. His forehead rests against mine, and I feel the mate bond stir warmly between us, stronger than ever before. It isn't overwhelming anymore. It's comforting, steady, like the heartbeat we now seem to share. Our connection deepens in a way that goes beyond words. The bond glows with quiet strength, filling us both with a sense of peace and belonging. For a moment, I can feel his emotions as clearly as my own. His unwavering love, his determination, and the silent promise that he'll never stop fighting for us. When the bond settles once more, I realize something that catches me completely by surprise. This is what every hardship has been leading us toward. Not the power, not the fang, not even victory over the hunters. Just this, us. Two souls who chose each other despite everything standing in their way. We remain together in comfortable silence, letting the quiet speak for us. After a while, I gently trace the familiar scars across his chest. These are the ones from our first bonding, months ago, marks that remind us how far we've come. There are newer scars, too, left behind by the hunters, by impossible battles, and by sacrifices he rarely speaks about. I brush my fingertips over each one with quiet care, before pressing a gentle kiss against his shoulder. You've carried so much, I whisper. He smiles softly and covers my hand with his own. So have you. For a long while, neither of us says another word. We simply remain there beneath the open sky, grateful that, despite everything we've endured, we're still together. Marry me, he says suddenly. I lift my head to look at him. Is this a proposal? It's a declaration of intent. His amber eyes are serious, intense, absolutely certain. I've already claimed you in every way that matters. The bond is already complete. But I want it formal. I want the Pax to witness. I want the world to know that you chose me, and I chose you, and there's nothing, not time, not power, not mortality itself, that will ever break us. I think about all of it. The trials and the terror, the near death and the absolute cost of what we've achieved. I think about the years I'll steal from him, and the certainty in his eyes that it was worth it. I think about the mark on my skin, burning bright with the power of our bond. Yes, I say, and feel him smile against my hair. We lie together in the darkness, and the mark on my skin glows like a star, bright enough to cast shadows, visible proof of everything we are together. His arm tightens around my waist, and his heartbeat synchronizes with mine, and in that moment, I understand that this was always what the mark meant. Not belonging, not possession, not even bonding in the traditional sense. It meant coming home. It meant finding the one person in the entire world whose soul fits so perfectly with yours that being apart feels like a fundamental violation of the laws of nature. It meant love so complete and absolute that you would burn your own eternity to keep them safe. It meant, in the end, that you were finally whole. And as his breathing deepens and he drifts toward sleep, holding me like he'll never let go, I think that some prices are worth paying after all. Some loves are worth the cost of forever.
And that brings us to the end of this story. Thank you for listening all the way through. We hope this audiobook kept you entertained and left you wanting more. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what kind of stories you'd like to hear next. There are plenty more full audiobooks waiting for you here, so be sure to check out the channel for your next great listen. Until next time, happy listening.